15 minutes to go then until lights out. The start we know so important. Here's Anthony at the sky pad.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. With overtaking at an absolute premium round here. Let's have a look at how it unfolded last year. Riding on board with Oscar Piastri, he starts where Lewis Hamilton will this time around. Got a pretty poor getaway, gets attacked by Max on the outside, but just about manages to hang on to position. So hard to overtake into turn one here. Now, pole position sitter Kimi Antonelli had a shocking getaway in the Chinese sprint race. He went from second on the grid down to 7th place. Look at that for a poor getaway. He'll be hoping and praying that doesn't happen to him into turn one here today. Things were better for him though last time out at the Montreal Grand Prix. He actually outpaces his teammate George Russell before turn one. So he'll be wishing for something more like this today. Yes, Lando Norris still overtook him, but he was on the intermediate tyres, of course, in that race, whereas Kimi was on slicks. But this is going to be jeopardy at the start for all of these potentially slow-moving cars off the line with these new rules. We can hear from Kimi now. He's with Natalie.
Hey, Kimi! How are you feeling? I mean, this is utter madness, but it's great, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm very excited for the race. Let's see what we can do today.
You seem very cool, calm and collected. The pressure's not going to get to you, is it?
No, I mean, we're just going to try to do our best, focus on procedures, and then we'll try to do our best race. So obviously nothing is guaranteed, but you know, I've done it before, so yeah, just gonna have to execute.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Can only control the controllables. Just in behind us, by the way, you'll be able to see this. Kimi Antonelli's dad, Marco, is there. It's quite a nice moment, actually. He just picked up the helmet of his son and planted a kiss on the top of it. You know, they're so tight. They've been through this whole journey together, and now they must think, well, this is dreamland. We're on pole in Monaco, Bernie.
Pole in Monaco, it doesn't get any better than that, I'm sure. I've never actually been on the grid before in Monaco, so
welcome.
This is quite the experience, really. You've been here several times.
It is. I mean, I was just saying, I mean, you know, penny for his thoughts now, because, I mean, all poles are special, the first one, etc., etc. But round here, as we've just talked about, short run down to the first, and as John Watson was saying, if you get out of Sandoval cleanly and in the lead, you're a big favourite.
Oh, 100%, yes. But kind of the starts have been Kimi's Achilles heel.
Yes.
So everything else around the weekend has been great for Kimi for many races now, but the starts are still there that he's unsure whether he's going to get a good getaway. So it definitely plays on your mind. That's why it's lovely seeing his dad here, supporting him. The relationship they have reminds me a lot of, you know, when I used to race with my dad. So it's very emotional, lovely to see the support. And I really look forward to seeing what Kimi can do today.
The thing is, we know he's going to be squeezed. Let's hear from Max Verstappen, who starts alongside him.
Max, just how important is this start today?
Just as important as all the other races. I always want to have a good start. Even though, of course, in Monaco, yeah, you know that you can't really pass on track. But we'll just try to do the best start we can.
Enjoy your race today. It should be a fun one, shouldn't it? I mean, it looks like it's going to stay dry, so you can't rely on weather changing. What other opportunities do you have?
You never know right here if you get unlucky or lucky with a safety car, because the on-track action probably will be quite low. But I hope, yeah, we have a good start. But at the same time, afterwards, maybe with strategy there is another opportunity, but you don't know.
Good luck, Max. Thanks a lot.
You've already run through those options, Bernie, so let's get into the pressure from the Ferraris behind. We've talked about it all year, that smaller turbo, they're quick out of the slow corners and they're quick off the line.
Yeah, they'll be quickest, potentially off the line, down into turn one, then out of turn one as well. That's where their strength has been. And they know that being aggressive on the first lap, and I think we talk so much about Max and Antonelli, they are really going to be fighting, but the Ferraris I think are going to be right there behind. They know it's their best opportunity.
We know it's a short run down to turn one, and these cars obviously get there very fast, but we can't see turn one.
No.
And we're stood in front of where Kimi is, so there is still an opportunity for these guys to take it to Kimi into turn one.
Yeah, we only saw 4 overtakes last year, 3 of those on the first lap and 1 actually in the Lowe's hairpin with Lance Stroll. So are there going to be increased opportunities with the nature of these cars now, the new generation?
The cars are smaller, they're narrower, so therefore there is more space on the track. They're also a bit less downforce, so to bring that, it's going to be a little bit slippery. We're seeing loads of mistakes in qualifying, lock-ups, drivers not used to. Martin mentioned it, the weight of these cars with the full fuel load on. So I think there is potential for driver mistakes, which is going to lead to an opportune move for someone behind.
We're just hoping it's as wild a ride as qualifying yesterday, aren't we, Jensen?
Well, qualifying here is just the most amazing day in motorsport for me, but the race is probably the second. So what an amazing place this is to drive a Formula One car around the streets of Monaco. I think we got a really good race on our hands.
Can you pick me a winner?
I'm going to say with Kimi Antonelli when it's got to start sorted out.
You going for Kimi?
Yeah.
Yeah, like qualifying. I went for Kimi. Yeah, probably Kimi.
Well, he's looking for 5 in a row, isn't he? It's been an unbelievable start to the season for him. And as we know, he has grabbed the championship by the scruff of the neck. 43 clear. Can he extend that for pole this afternoon? About to find out.
Audi sponsors Formula One on Sky Sports. Maybe the best suite comes with a new view every day. Maybe the news feels fresher with an ocean breeze. Maybe the finest dinner is even finer with a sunset view. Maybe one check-in unlocks multiple destinations. Maybe the best hotel isn't a hotel. Explore journeys. Explore the ocean state of mind.
What did you steal?
Secrets. From Steven Spielberg.
Are they human?
No. People are starved for the truth.
That truth will upend all established order across the entire world.
This June.
Be the best hotel.
What are you gonna do?
Isn't a hotel.
Disclosure.
Explore a
The
journey.
whole world.
The truth belongs to all of us.
3, 2, 1.
This is Disclosure Day.
Disclosure Day in cinemas Wednesday, June 10. Book tickets now. People are starved for the truth.
That truth will upend all established order across the entire world.
This June.
Be the best hotel.
What are you gonna do?
Isn't a hotel.
Disclosure.
Explore a
The
journey.
whole world. Tudor, born to dare.
For the first time ever in Monaco, Bernie Collins in prime position to help us understand the strategic side of the race on the pit wall. Anthony is up in race control, guiding us through the action as always. Martin Brundle and David Croft. It is Monaco. It's packed. Feels like the centre of universe on race day, steeped in history. Time for another famous chapter. What story will be written today?
What is the measure of a driver? In Formula One, some achievements stay with you. Not because they're worth more, but because they demand more. It asks everything. It promises nothing. It forgives nothing. Yet every year they return. For the challenge, for the pressure, for the possibility. Because here, dreams are realized. Hearts are broken. And legends are made. But when it's over, what remains is something far rarer. It's not the trophy, not the result. It's the knowing that when faced with one of the sport's greatest tests, you prevailed.
So this is why we're all here then. Welcome along to race day here in Monaco. 78 laps to come for what is round 6 of the Formula One World Championship in 2026. And for the 72nd time in this glorious World Championship, we're racing around these glorious streets. 2.07 miles from the harbour side up to the casino and back down again. There are 19 corners here, 8 to the left and 11 to the right, and just 115 metres from the pole position all the way to Sandoval, the first corner. The first winner here was Juan Manuel Fangio from pole last year. Lando Norris, the latest to carve his name into the history that has been written around these famous streets. The Pirelli tyres, the softest in their range. They are the C3, the C4 and the C5. They're a step harder than they were last year. They are holding up well. Is anyone going to gamble and go on the soft tyre to start? We shall see. Temperatures are rising. It is a glorious hot day and a beautiful part of the world to be in, but surely the best part is on the starting grid. And sadly for Gabriel Bortoleto, it looks like he's going to have to start from the pit lane for the second time this season. The Aston Martins were the two slowest qualifiers, Alonso and Stroll at the back. Ahead of them, Valtteri Bottas and Ollie Behrman out in Q1 here for the second year running. Sergio Perez equalled Cadillac's best performance in qualifying of the season. He starts 18th alongside Esteban Ocon, who was in the top 10 here last year. Gabriel Bortoleto, as I say, will be starting from the pit lane. He had an issue with his Audi. Arvid Lindblad is 15th on the grid. Franco Colapinto is 14th. And Nico Hulkenberg has his lowest start of the season in 13th. Carlos Sainz has a 100% point scoring record here. In 10 starts, he starts 12th alongside his teammate Alex Albon, Williams' best quali of the year. Liam Lawson had a few issues, but he's made it to the grid, and that's great to see. He lines up 10th. And Pierre Gasly 9th, his best Monaco quali since 23. 1,000 Grand Prix for McLaren, their worst qualifying of the season. Norris 8th and Piastri 7th. George Russell down in a lowly 6th, and Isaac Hadjar qualified 5th here for the second year running. The second row is all Ferrari. Charles Leclerc, who was on for pole before he hit the wall at the back. Lewis Hamilton will start third, his highest Monaco start here in 7 years. And it's Max Verstappen and Kimi Antonelli on the front row, a 4th pole of the season for Kimi Antonelli. Will it be Martin Brundle, a 5th Grand Prix victory in a row?
He's got every chance of doing that if he can get into the first corner first, but then we know how it settles in for the rest of the afternoon unless there's a wild safety car. It's not going to rain, but we're also looking out for a bit of team play. If, for example, Williams are in 11th and 12th, will they use one car to hold a pack up and or try to steal a point or two from there? Both Ferraris on the second row of the grid. Charles Leclerc was on for pole position until he hit the barriers yesterday. It certainly would have been very close indeed. Max Verstappen, I'm expecting him to be all over the gearbox of Kimi Antonelli if he doesn't beat him into the first corner. Both drivers on the front row of the grid have had some sketchy starts, but they're getting on top of that now anyway. And we'll see what happens. Good to see Liam Lawson on the grid. He told me just when we were in Vision earlier on, I'm not going to make it today. Best case scenario, we'll start from the pit lane. He's on the grid, so never believe what these drivers tell you.
I think at the time he thought there might be a power unit problem. Yeah. It isn't. It was a car systems issue that they managed to fix and get him out. And I think Arvid Lindblad might have had a similar issue as well, because he was radioing to the team to say, well done, guys.
Yeah, good for them and good for Lawson, because he's done very well to get P10 on the grid.
Tyre blankets off then, and everyone is on the medium tyre to start, unless you're Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez, and from the pit lane, Gabriel Bortoleto, which is not so much of a surprise. The medium tyre is the favourite tyre to start on here. But did you think any one of the top 10 might have gone for a bit of a gamble at the start?
I think if you make those places up early on, if you use the extra grip with the soft tyre, make a couple of places, then hang on to it. But if you don't, you've literally blown your chance. So Max a little bit slow away there, happy to let, quite telling, wasn't it? Max there trying to find some traction, some bite. Took a while to hook it up with the clutch and first gear there, but away they go. And Antonelli doesn't want to arrive too quickly at the start line with the pack still making their way around the swimming pool or such like.
I was just looking at Sandoval, the first turn. There isn't much room around the outside. There's a lot of room on the inside. Not all of it, of course, is the track. Is someone going to be a bit cheeky, do you think? Try and cut the inside? Do the stewards look at that at the start?
Well, it's much better to do that than have an accident or go into the wall on the outside. But you've got to remember where, especially if you're mid-pack, you've got to feed back in where you were before you cut to the safety, the get out of jail free card on the inside. And the stewards will have to look at that because it's too inviting. If it all looks a bit smoky and tyres locked up in front of you, take to that little road, but you've got to feed yourself back in at the right place. But this is a lot of pressure for Kimi Antonelli. He's been faultless so far this weekend, but Max Verstappen alongside him and both Ferraris in filling his mirrors. Wow, that's a lot of pressure.
1966, Bruce McLaren racing for McLaren, making the team's debut here in Monaco. 1,000 Grand Prix later, McLaren still going strong and the defending Constructors' champions. We saw Kimi Antonelli getting away a lot quicker than Max Verstappen. Anthony Davidson at race control. I wonder if he was just trying to practice a start, not fully committed, but trying to get it right, given how much has gone wrong this year for him.
If you need to get it right anywhere, Crofty, at the start, it's this race here in Monaco. And his starts this year so far traditionally haven't been brilliant, as I pointed out on the Sky Pad, but he was told by his engineer, Bono, the clutches were on target, so the driver was doing the right procedure at least this time.
Yeah, I mean, what's absolutely clear, back in Canada, both Mercedes were much better off the start line. So let's see what they can do. What we do know is that the Ferraris are very quick away, but usually in the second phase of the start as well. There's not an awful lot of that here. It's just 115 metres to the first braking point.
Look, we're lining up on the grid, and the front row and the second row are slotted into position. Gabriel Bortoletto, who's going to be starting from the pit lane, is coming through the tunnel at the moment. He's about 30 seconds behind the two Attons, who are last on the grid. So at the front, they're going to be sat there for quite a long time. We're really interested in the start here because so far this year, the second row has led the opening lap of a Grand Prix in every Grand Prix.
They've got to ignore Bortoletto, but they're still forming up on the back of the grid anyway, so I think it'll be a non-issue, but he's well out of any danger. He's obliged to go in the pit lane anyway, so as soon as they line up, we'll be given some time to start the revs.
Here we go then, Monaco Grand Prix in 2026, ladies and gentlemen. 78 laps to come. Who's going to lead the opening lap? Who's going to win? It's lights out and away we go. Antonelli gets away. Leclerc gets away brilliantly. Max has stalled on the grid. It's Antonelli and Lewis Hamilton and Charlotte George Russell and Piastri and Norris going wheel to wheel. Piastri ahead of Norris, who got compromised, and Pierre Gasly is now trying to make the overtake, going up through Beau Rivage, and I think he manages to do it on Norris.
Well, that difficult getaway we saw for the formation lap was an issue for Max Verstappen. He is now up and running, albeit even behind Bortoletto's start in the pit lane.
Horrible start for Max Verstappen. For the first time this year, Kimi Antonelli from pole gets away well and is leading the opening lap of a Grand Prix, which Mercedes haven't managed to do. As they filter through Portier, Verstappen is trying to make his way cautiously around Mirabeau. He's a long way back.
Yeah, it looks like he's got problems, doesn't he? Max was going very slowly indeed, as Antonelli then starts to build a lead. If he can get more than a second out front, he can stop the Ferraris getting in the straight line mode. So dream start for Antonelli. Nightmare, very sadly for us and for the team and Max Verstappen.
Through the swimming pool chicane section they come, and Lando Norris behind Pierre Gasly managed to get that overtake done, making his way up the hill at Beau Rivage, and he's now putting pressure on Gasly.
What should I do? Just bring it home, please, Max.
Bring it home to the pits now, or bring it home to the checkered flag? I'm hoping it's the latter, and Max can still play a part in this race, but it's not the way that Red Bull wanted to start this race. Bernie Collins down on the pit wall.
Yes, Crofty, Max Verstappen massively down on power. He was watching his telemetry there, his car speed, and he just doesn't have any power the entire way through the lap. Expect him in the pit.
I think Ollie Behrman's had contact on the opening lap. They're changing the front wing on his Haas, so an early pit stop for him, and Verstappen is into the pits. Bortoletto has made a pit stop at the end of the first lap too to get rid of his soft tyres. Max Verstappen, we can see now, they are not ready to change the tyres. They are not looking to change the tyres, and I think Max Verstappen is out of the Monaco Grand Prix.
I'm gutted about that. That was going to be so exciting watching him trying to find a way through. He parked his car really hard right. He wasn't thinking about Antonelli actually. He was thinking about the fast starting, but actually, sadly, you need to think about all 21 of them that were on the grid at the time. So Gasly has got ahead of Norris as well. Lando Norris was on the outside of the first corner of his teammate Piastri and then got compromised, as you said. Hadjar up into fourth for Red Bull. He got his away nice. It's released George Russell a little bit up into fifth, but Antonelli 2.9 seconds clear. He is not going to give Ferrari any of overtake.
Antonelli leading a Grand Prix from pole position and leading one first time in his career, is dashing away right out in front from Lewis Hamilton, who's cleared one car and, well, now needs to clear another, and that is not going to be the work of a moment, because Antonelli already 3 seconds ahead. His teammate George Russell has been noted for a false start and being out of position. Russell was down in 6th on the grid, and that was a bad qualifying. It might have got even worse from the off.
Oh yeah, it was maybe left or right. He could have been, so it's not moving at the start, it's out of position, out of his grid box, as Norris is getting pretty racy there against Pierre Gasly.
He certainly is. Verstappen on the radio on the lap that he did do, saying twice that the engine is broken, reporting power unit problems for the second time here in Monaco, and for the 8th time in his career he has retired from a race on the first lap. Big disappointment for him.
Hopefully we'll get a replay, but Sergio Perez, who's up to 14th in the Cadillac, he made an overtake around the outside of Mirabeau.
Wow, and maybe helped a bit by the two Haas cars tripping over each other a bit. We think that Ollie Behrman might have gone into the back of his teammate Esteban Ocon. 3.7 seconds the gap, Kimi Antonelli to Lewis Hamilton. It's like they've opened the starting stalls, and the young thoroughbred is going to try and lead this, and a blast from the off.
So just to take you through overtake mode again, I know some of you know this, but if you're new to Formula One this season, welcome. But if you're within a second of the car in front at the detection point right near the end of the lap, you get overtake mode for the rest of that lap. It gives you more power and more speed for longer. Basically, you can harvest, but harvesting around here is easy for everybody, but it enables you to hang on to the speed a little bit longer. I don't think it makes a huge amount of difference with overtaking, but Antonelli's just checked out at the front.
He certainly has. There's another gap opening up as well between George Russell and Oscar Piastri, 5th and 6th. Piastri is losing touch of it to George Russell. 0.7 of a second on the previous lap was the pace advantage that Russell had over the McLaren. And maybe the race will settle down a bit, or maybe Kimi Antonelli is just going to go and try and put in 78 qualifying laps on a full tank of fuel here. But as every corner goes by, that lead keeps getting extended.
Yeah, does he really want to build too much of a lead? Because what that means then, you stretch the pack and you open up gaps.
George Russell did look like he was a little bit too far forward.
Yeah,
forward
that's
on there.
Problem.
So into Sainte Devote we go, and Max Verstappen is already out of the picture, and Antonelli just streaking away there. And there we can see the move, Gasly on Norris.
Yeah, Norris is around the outside of Piastri, but had to get out of it because he was too close to the barrier.
George was angling his car as well. Max just getting bogged down.
I tell you what, they did incredibly well not to smash into the back of him.
Oh, nice. Completely, guys, what the man?
Oh, that must be the worst feeling. No further investigation. George Russell for a false start and being out of position. He did look a little bit far forward. He was certainly angled a bit, but the stewards have said that's absolutely fine, so no penalty coming his way.
They've obviously seen there was some kind of contact patch of his front tyre. This is going to be scary for Norris because he's
outside his grid box.
Oh, Lando certainly thought there was a problem, and then, there's Max not going.
So Lando very good on the brakes around the outside, but now he's going to get pinched up against the barrier by Oscar Piastri teammate. And this is where Gasly steams past on the right-hand side. And that few seconds can wreck your afternoon.
And you mentioned Sergio Perez up into 14th place at one stage. He's been into the pits now. He's been noted too for a false start and being out of position. So we'll keep you posted on that. And whilst we've been talking about that, the gap is now 4 seconds, or it was 4 seconds. Kimi Antonelli trying to make this a race all by himself against the clock, and so far the Ferraris haven't got an answer to it. Hamilton in second, Leclerc in third, but strategy will come into play as we carry on. Hulkenberg up then into 12th with Max Verstappen's retirement here, chasing Carlos Sainz, who's chasing Alex Albon for the final points position.
Yeah, so normally what we can often see here is the leader is actually very slow, and they just back the whole pack up, keeps it tight, and it doesn't generate a gap in there anywhere for somebody to nip in the pits, get some fresh tyres and undercut you, go faster on their out lap. But at the moment, they're not playing that game, although Antonelli, it's almost like they've just said to him, OK, that'll do for now, 4 second lead, let's just balance this for now.
One thing that he might be trying to do is to get far enough ahead of Charles Leclerc so that if he does have to pit before Leclerc, he's not going to come out behind him, because Leclerc could then put the anchors on a bit for his team, and that play havoc with the Mercedes strategy.
Absolutely, especially as Ferrari are sitting there with 2 cars against 1, effectively. If they want to start playing games, playing tactics, using 1 to slow the pack, and then return that compliment a little bit later on.
Now, we wondered this year with overtake mode and the increased battery energy that you get with that out of the slow corners, whether out of this corner Portier we could get some overtakes done through the tunnel, and cars picking up a slipstream, and we're on board with Lando Norris is just a bit too far behind the Alpine in front. Behind that, Nico Hulkenberg is much closer to Carlos Sainz, and I wonder if he's got half a chance, but going into the chicane has to stick behind the Williams again.
The problem is when you're this close to another driver, your reference points disappear. You can't see curbs. That's why we hit that one a bit too hard. Or braking points, because you're just steering at the rear wing of the car in front. Remember that Lando's effectively sitting on the ground in that position, especially at high speed, you're on the ground. And this is really going to be frustrating for him, because he's 3.6 seconds behind his teammate, and that extra power through the tunnel, bearing in mind the Alpine's also got the Mercedes-Benz power unit, as does the McLaren. It's not really giving Lando any kind of straight line speed advantage, is it, coming into the braking zone of the chicane?
Put it this way, Martin, it's a very different Monaco Grand Prix in 26 than it was in 2025 for Lando Norris, who of course won here this time last year from pole position, his second podium and his best podium in terms of success here in Monaco. He's a bit closer, I think, to Pierre Gasly on this lap. Brake issues once again for Valtteri Bottas. We saw that in practice. Out of the tunnel into the chicane, hard on the brakes. You're at about 240 kilometres an hour. What's that in miles an hour? About 150 miles an hour when you slam on the brakes to make that chicane. And getting yourself down, scrubbing off about 100 miles an hour of speed to go into that Nouvelle chicane. Over the curve they go. Norris is able to follow closely behind Pierre Gasly. Bortoletto, if there's smoke coming from Bottas's brakes, will be getting a visor full of that smoke, as he's in 20th place now, ahead of Ben, who has pitted. In fact, from Sergio Perez downwards, they have all made a pit stop in this race so far. We think it's a one-stop strategy. They've decided to make it early and then see where they can shape up at the end.
See if they can hang on to those tyres until the end of the Grand Prix. Makes sense. You've got to do something a little. It's a drive-through for Perez. Drive-through penalty, so that's 20 seconds, and a much worse here, track position for a false start. Bernie is down on the pit wall.
Yes, Martin, I was just having a look there as well. I think that for Perez will actually put him out just in front of Antonelli, so that might, although he will have blue flag straight away, that will hurt Antonelli's pace a little bit. I think Antonelli is trying to open a gap. He's got a full pit stop to Piastri, meaning if he out just ahead of Piastri, and he's trying to, I think, open the safety car window to both of the Ferraris. So he's trying to make sure that if there was a safety car, if he pitted, he would still emerge ahead of at least Leclerc, even if Leclerc stayed out. And like Crofty said, those at the back that have made one pit stop, potentially thinking of going to the end. The only exception, I think, is Aston Martin, who fitted the soft tyre, that may not make it all the way.
Thank you very much, Bernie. You lose about 19 seconds of your race time making a pit stop here. If there's a safety car or a virtual safety car, that goes down to about 10 seconds. And it's about 10 seconds at the moment that Kimi Antonelli has on Charles Leclerc in third place.
Yeah, and Antonelli then is coming up to lap Bottas, Bortoleto and Beerman, who have pitted. So they're obliged to get out of the way, but they don't ever want to go too far out of the way, because you just pick up a load of rubbish on your tyres. So
absolutely. That's
always a peril for the leader.
Esteban Ocon now coming out from his pit stop. And down in 15th place as Sergio Perez serves that drive-through penalty. That's a real shame for him. He got himself up into a nice position with another excellent start. He had one in Canada too. Picked up a penalty in the Canadian Grand Prix as well, and for the second race running is being hampered by something in terms of a time added to his race time.
Charles Leclerc needed a new gearbox and rear end on the car suspension-wise for the clout on the barriers in qualifying, but he's been a bit out of sorts, hasn't he, since sort of Friday. He looks strong, but he's miles behind Hamilton at the moment, 4.3 seconds, although now just starting to lap around the same time. But the Ferraris at this stage of the race have no answer to just the raw speed of Antonelli out front.
And you'll be wondering, why then is the gap reducing if Ferrari haven't got the answer in terms of raw pace? That's because Antonelli has just had to thread his way through those back markers, and Bortoleto and Bottas and Beerman too. He's lost about a second in doing so to Lewis Hamilton, but of course Hamilton is going to come up across those back markers in a few moments' time himself.
Antonelli's been told, so let's have a bit of brake temperature management, especially now you're coming up behind back markers, because that means you're driving through some dirty air because your brakes are pretty hot. So a little bit of management to do for Antonelli, but he's cleared those back markers. They've just flown through them.
This is Sergio Perez and the false start. So you've got a relay light system, and is he in the wrong position? Yeah, I think he's just a little bit too far further forward. It wasn't a lights issue, it was a positioning issue. So Antonelli leads. 4.3 seconds is the gap between himself and Lewis Hamilton in second. Hamilton has cleared Bortoleto and Beerman, and he's now got to get past Bottas, and then he is the car behind Kimi Antonelli.
Antonelli lost 9/10 of a second getting through that traffic, so not too bad. And now Hamilton and Leclerc have got to do the same thing. So Antonelli catching Perez now. It won't really be that long either before he's right up behind the two Aston Martins.
He's going to have to think about tyre management as well. If brakes are just overheating slightly, then he's got to keep his tyres under control here. And whilst we haven't seen a huge amount of degradation, the track temperature at 44 degrees is fairly warm here. Racing in June for the first time in 23 years. There's Hamilton lapping Ollie Beerman. Sorry, there's Charles Leclerc lapping Ollie Beerman. So tyre management is going to come into proceedings, and the Ferraris might just be taking a little bit more caution on this one to keep their tyres a bit more alive towards the end of this stint on the medium tyre. And it's medium hard or medium soft, depending on how long to go in the race when you make that pit stop here.
So Lewis just took another 2/10 out of the lead on that lap, down to 4 seconds now to Antonelli. Leclerc 4.5. Behind him, Hadjar, Anthony at Sky Race Control telling me Hadjar's on the radio saying, all four wheels, all four tyres sliding, I'm overheating, I'm beginning to struggle. And that is keeping George Russell, who's finally had a bit of good news with that, not getting a grid penalty there. So Russell then in P5, not too far behind Hadjar.
If it does finish the way it is, Martin, George Russell will leave Monaco, or go back home in Monaco after 6 Grand Prix this season, trailing by 58 points in the championship to his teammate.
Let's see how it plays out over the next 65 laps.
Hulkenberg, good stop from the Audi team, 2.6 seconds for them to get Hulkenberg back out onto the track and keep him ahead of Esteban Ocon, who made his pit stop a few laps ago. Antonelli might just be slowing his pace slightly. out in front. Hamilton now under 4 seconds behind him and picking up a bit of time on the leader during the course of this lap. He's got Sergio Perez to try and lap, and he should be able to do that. Here we go, down the main straight before we get to Sander Vot, so Perez won't have held him up much.
With the new regulations, the pack has been spread, as always happens. But it's so unusual to see lapping going on because, as I said, the normal strategy, isn't it, is leader just backs everybody up and then pulls the pin and clears off when they're getting ready for a pit stop to then find the gap. But he's just gone for it today.
He certainly has. He's gone for it. Others have made a pit stop early, and that's why, once again, the two things combined are giving us these early lappages during the course of this race. Ollie Behrman is not a happy man out there, has to be said. He's down in 21st. He's been on the radio saying the race is over, guys, for heaven's sake. I'd like to see what happened with the two Haas drivers on the first lap. I think they got together, and Ollie, I get the feeling, is not overly happy with what happened with his teammate. But we'll see when we see a replay of that a little bit later on.
You can't think of doing it, I don't think, but if Ferrari leave Leclerc out and he starts backing the pack up, if Antonelli, Mercedes daren't pit before Ferrari with the two Ferraris there. Could you possibly do that with Charles Leclerc? His home Grand Prix works Ferrari driver, just signed up for added another couple of years. Could you think about doing that? But yes. If Ferrari want to win this Grand Prix with the speed of Antonelli, it looks to me as if that might be their only option.
Yeah, it's not fair on Charles Leclerc, but this is a team sport, and Ferrari might say you play the team game, and eventually it'll go your way at another race in the future. We're on lap 15 of 78 for this Monaco Grand Prix. 21 drivers are still racing. The driver that's out...
There's a lot of take on this side. That's the grids are very hot. Copy.
The driver that is out is Max Verstappen, and he never really got going. Here he is talking to Natalie Pinkham.
Max, it's really disappointing to see you here because everyone's been robbed of what could have been a magnificent start. So I'm really sorry, first and foremost. When were you first aware of the issue?
Already the formation lap was not going very well. And then after that, the pre-start was terrible. Like there was just no consistency, and then the engine just dropped dead, and I only got a little bit of power back after the first corner, and then the engine sounded really awful, so I could not go full throttle, so we brought it back, and that was it.
Obviously, quali was really encouraging, so you go into Barcelona in just a week's time. What promises, can you make to yourself and the team about what can be achieved there?
A completely different track, so it will be a good test to see if we actually really made a proper step forward or not. Because that's all about high speed and aero performance, so that will be an interesting weekend.
Sorry about today.
Red Bull Powertrains will be examining that power unit very, very carefully indeed when they get back to Milton Keynes after this race. They've done a tremendous job with that new power unit and building their own power unit for the first time. But is that a big failure that's cost them big points for this weekend? Alex Albon we just saw going straight through the chicane. Here is George Russell, who slowly but surely has been catching Isaac Hadjar for the last few laps, and he's now just a second behind him. While that's going on, Ollie Behrman is right on the tails of Gabriel Bortoleto, who's right on the tails of Valtteri Bottas going through the tunnel.
Hadjar has front left grain and he won't be out for much longer, I don't think.
Just make sure you've got good tyres when he does get out of the way.
How does George Russell see front left graining on Isaac Hadjar's car when he's got a gearbox and an engine and quite a lot of car in between him and the tyres? That is a great spot.
It is amazing that George can spot that. It's fairly easy for us to see it when we...
No rear, no fronts, nothing.
Yeah, copy everything. Tyres over peak.
And, it was like Lando on the grid, wasn't it? George is... I mean, it's a bit telling on somebody at school, isn't it? But George is out of his grid box. It's amazing that Lando had the capacity to have a look around and spot that kind of thing.
Yeah, incredible awareness, it really is. Lap 17 of 78. What's the gap out in front? 3 seconds. It was around about 5 seconds, about 5 laps or so ago. Here's Kimi Antonelli just managing his pace for a little bit. He's now had to lap Fernando Alonso as well as they head through to back. Lewis Hamilton on his tail has got to get past the Aston Martin, who's running down in 16th place, and George Russell is still right on the gearbox then of Isaac Hadjar, now within 1 second. So he gets that extra half a megajoule of energy. The overtake mode replacing DRS for this season. Now, that is the state of Isaac Hadjar's front left tyre. Looks horrible. Really does. Bernie Collins will be looking at that and some other data on our pit wall this afternoon.
Yeah, so I was just having a look to see what does Russell do from a strategic point of view. Does he go early and try and undercut Hadjar? And I think that's what Russell's message is to the pit wall. He's like, don't go early. I think Hadjar is going to box soon. The problem that Russell has is Hadjar's pace is preventing him from opening a nice clear pit window. Ideally, he would like to come out ahead of the McLarens, but he doesn't have that. At the moment, he would come out just ahead of Lawson, and he knows that's not an ideal place to be. So Russell trying to push Hadjar on to increase his pace and try and get that pit window.
I think we got our second retiree from this race, Valtteri Bottas, into the pits after being told that they need to cool the car down and to box overheating issues, maybe on the brakes for the Cadillac once again. So Bottas out, just ahead of him, Ollie Behrman. We were speculating as to what might have happened to him on the first lap. Anthony Davidson, 2 seconds.
And George, how much pace would you have in clear air?
At least 1 second, I think.
That could bring George Russell back into the picture a little bit. Anthony Davidson at Sky Race Control. You've gone back to the opening lap. What do you got for us, mate?
Yeah, basically, Behrman was fighting Ocon. He was directly behind him. Ocon thought about going to the inside of the hairpin to try and move on somebody, but then darts back onto the racing line. He had enough space to do that, and Behrman got a bit caught out and just sort of whacked straight into the back of him and damaged the front wing. That's why he had to come in and make a nose change.
So what we've got going on now, Hamilton can start to see Antonelli again down the straight, which is always a great incentive, and Antonelli can start to see the red nose of a Ferrari keep popping up here and there, which psychologically is a little bit more difficult too. So Lewis Hamilton definitely keeping the pressure on.
But what would you do if you were Kimi Antonelli and you could see the red nose in the background? Put your foot down a bit harder?
I'm sure they're managing stuff, managing pace out there, although Kimi's just done a brilliant first sector, so he's got plenty of pace left.
Oh my god, the engine braking is a joke. What's happening?
We're investigating.
So
there's something wrong. First gear man is not usable.
Yeah, engine braking. So when you pull a downshift, it's like sort of pulling the, look at how close this is, and Hadjar under pressure there from George Russell. But basically, when you pull downshifts and the engine revs go up, it's like putting the brakes on. It's a tool they use a lot of, and he's saying there's too much going on. That's because his tyres are crying enough.
As Lando Norris is chasing Pierre Gasly and thinks he's got bags more pace in clean air, George Russell is experiencing something very similar indeed behind the Red Bull of Isaac Hadjar, showing you just how difficult it is to pass here in Monaco, though. Even with the extra pace that George Russell thinks he's got, he's not going to make a move down that main straight. Let's see when they come into the tunnel next time around whether George can find a way there. It's frustration for both British drivers. It's patience that's needed, and then maybe a gap will open up for them on lap 28 of a race that now sees Kimi Antonelli leading by about 5 seconds. He's now starting to push that little bit harder. I wonder if there's a pit stop coming.
Mode 6. Mode 6. We're looking into it, mate. We're looking into it.
Also, the power is down.
Power is down. No first gear. Hadjar's really struggling.
If he can't pull first gear because it's sort of locking the rear axle, that means the turbo's not spooling up in those slow corners as well. So he'll get poor acceleration off the corners.
Yeah, but look faster.
I think I'll come to you as soon as I have a solution. I'll come to you.
Yeah, because he's got wing mirrors full of the silver arrow of George Russell, and he'd quite like some answers as to how he can do something about it. He's got his feet and he's got his steering wheel, but he needs his team to give him more power.
Yeah, it's painful for Russell. He knows he could go an awful lot faster. That's the nature of Monaco, but Russell is already well over a pit stop behind his teammate out in front, because you just can't pass around here. That's the way it is. It's the way it's always been. It's not how it is these days. It's always been. I give you 1992, Ayrton Senna and Nigel Mansell.
Something is going to explode. The engine is not healthy right now.
Okay, we can see the issue. We're working on a fix. We can see it. We're working on a fix.
Yeah, that fix cannot come soon enough for Isaac Hadjar, who's dropped to over 14, nearly 15 seconds behind Charles Leclerc, who now is over 11 and a half seconds behind the leader, Kimi Antonelli. So Antonelli has got a safety car pit stop ahead of Charles Leclerc. So if he pits under a safety car, he comes out ahead of one of the Ferraris, not the second Ferrari, Lewis Hamilton.
Oh, lock up.
Big lock-up going into the chicane. George Russell is right there, ready to pounce. Has Hadjar got enough torque out of that chicane to stay ahead? Yes. As they go through to the back, there's round about 3 car lengths, saving Isaac Hadjar and keeping him in 4th place.
Costing Russell 2 seconds a lap now, every lap. And Cynthia, a little chat with her on the grid.
I hope she's having a wicked time, I really do. 22 laps out of 78. Kimi Antonelli, 6.2 seconds clear from Lewis Hamilton. Same gap pretty much. Back to Charles Leclerc in 3rd. A big battle going on for 4th at the moment. George Russell, who never finished in the top 4 here in Monaco before, has finished 5th in 3 of the last 4 years here. Has a real chance to try and get past Isaac Hadjar, but where? Where can he spot an opening and try these smaller, lighter, more nimble cars, narrower cars for 2026? Where can he try and find just some room to squeeze up alongside? Behind these two, Oscar Piastri, about 6.5 seconds clear of Pierre Gasly. Lando Norris has had to back off a bit to cool down that McLaren. He's running in 8th. Liam Lawson, very solid 9th for him, ahead of Alex Albon, who's in the Williams and last point scoring position. As George Russell into the chicane once again, looking for the move. Isaac Hadjar placing that Red Bull in exactly the right spot.
And every time you go defensive, it slows you both down a great deal as well. They start hurting each other's chances.
Yeah, Isaac, currently there's no fix. We are still working on a solution, but currently there's no fix. Head down.
That is a painful message to receive. If you are young Isaac Hadjar, 21 years of age and racing here for the first time for Red Bull after a brilliant 6th place finish last year in the Racing Bulls in the B team.
George making some changes on his steering wheel, and Sainte Devote popped up in front of him there. They don't understand how we used to shift gear 3,000 times back in the day. We don't understand how on earth they can make so many changes on their steering wheel and still drive around Monaco without hitting everything.
I just wonder if that switch, Martin, was what they call the strap mode switch. So he's maybe changing places where the battery deployment can have more of an influence in this battle, where he knows he might just need a bit of extra boost to try and find that opening to get past Isaac Hadjar and catch him by surprise. I don't think he's as close as he was last lap coming into the chicane here. Watch out for the next lap with George Russell there. Maybe out of the chicane as well, try and get a bit more power on if the rear tyres will give him enough grip to try and get alongside. It's so difficult, but I think the possibility is there.
So Antonelli, he's gone through that management phase now. He's checking out at the front of the field. He's now 7.48 it is on this lap now, during this lap. 8.1 it's just gone up to, so you can see for yourself. So yeah, he went through that phase, now he's gone.
On board with Charles Leclerc into the chicane, scrubbing off 100 miles an hour of speed, but not scrubbing off enough. And looking at the state of his front left tyre there, well, not helped by going over the curb, but just wondered if a bit of graining is starting to open up on Charles Leclerc's front left tyre.
He was complaining about his brakes all day yesterday as well, wasn't he, with Charles Leclerc? You can do that 3 times and then you'll get a warning. He won't get any kind of penalty because he didn't save a place or gain a place by it, but if he does it too many times, you get a black and white flag, and then after that it's a 5-second penalty.
We don't like to show you repeats here on Sky F1 during a live race, but this Isaac Hadjar-George Russell battle is being repeated in the Gasly-Norris battle as well. Lando Norris is going through exactly the same pain that George Russell is going through lap after lap, trying to get past Pierre Gasly after being just squeezed out of touch by his teammate Oscar Piastri, who was preserving his 26th on the opening lap of the race. Norris just got caught out a bit, and Gasly managed to nip past him on the run up Beau Rivage towards Casino Square.
Yeah, so the lead is in the 1:16s, and then Hadjar 19s. That pins Russell into the 1:19s.
George Russell, his last lap was around about half a second slower than Nico Hülkenberg, who's down in 14th place.
Give it 2 more laps, and because of this, then Antonelli will have 2 pit stops over his teammate in his pocket in terms of time available. They're 36 seconds behind now, and as I say, losing 2 seconds a lap. And that is the pain that's going on there. But of course, Red Bull don't want to bring that car in any earlier than they have to.
Give it 2 more laps as well, Martin, and Kimi Antonelli at this rate might be a safety car pit stop ahead of Lewis Hamilton to get in and out again if we had a safety car. Here comes George Russell down towards the chicane, pulls out the right-hand side, and could do with another 100 metres of tarmac, but on the exit almost gets his front wheels alongside the back wheels of Isaac Hadjar, moves across to the right-hand side as the Red Bull to protect that place, that precious 4th place, and deny Russell again. That was a charge that had been coming for a couple of laps there, and George almost got part of his car alongside.
Yeah, Hadjar put the car in the middle of the track, which is the smart thing to do. If you go left, it's bumpy and dirty, and you'll probably never slow down for the chicane, and you'll have to give the place back. So George is preferring down the outside, which is still a bit bumpy, but you've got more of a chance to swing into the corner.
Let's just go to Sky Race Control, Anthony Davidson. While we watch George Russell, what is Kimi Antonelli being told on the radio?
He's loving life out in front of this motor race today, Crofty, I can tell you that, because he's been told by Bono to just keep the gap when it was 8.4 seconds to Lewis Hamilton. You can see on the screen it's now 10.2. So he's enjoying driving this car around the streets of Monaco today and ignoring the advice from his team.
It's not bad. It matched Lewis's lap time, so he's just gone 9 tenths of a second faster than Lewis on that last lap. Bernie Collins, if you were his strategy engineer today, would you be telling him to slow down or not?
I think it's very difficult to tell a driver to slow down around Monaco. Some drivers like to just keep going at their pace and keep the focus up and not manage too much. He's going to get a lot of blue flags now. That's going to be interesting. Still really interested in the Hadjar-Russell battle. I think the saviour for Russell might actually be Liam Lawson. So because of Hadjar's slow pace, Liam Lawson is now closing that gap. He is closing the pit window that they would emerge behind, and that might prompt Red Bull to stop Hadjar, to not lose that pit stop window to Liam Lawson. So that's only a lap or 2 away, and that would allow George Russell a nice free track that he's so desperately calling for.
Might start singing Freedom or something like that by George Michael. He could be let loose and back into some race pace that he feels his car is capable of once again. For Isaac Hadjar sliding out the Casino Square there and looking like he got a lot closer to the barrier than I've seen him do so far, and certainly shaking the fence, the catch fencing on the outside there as he made his way through that right-hander at Casino Square at a mere 56 miles an hour.
So they're making some switch changes to the power unit with Hadjar from the Red Bull pit wall. We'll see if they can help him with his problems.
Hadjar's gone straight over onto the runoff area. Now George Russell is going to close up. George Russell looking for a way through on the inside. And what will follow, I'm sure, in a couple of moments, is a radio message from George Russell saying he cut the chicane, he gained an advantage.
Yeah, by keeping his position. So they'll have a look and see the distance, the time. That's a tough call for the stewards, that one.
That's a last-in advantage, so he can't keep it on the track. He needs to get the position up.
Copy.
Well, he certainly didn't come.
He's out braking himself, so he's got no tyres.
Yeah, that's a fair call from George. Let's see what the stewards think about it.
Lewis Hamilton, neat stop by the Ferrari team. Charles Leclerc goes through, Hamilton onto the racetrack in bags of clean space and clean air here in Monte Carlo, and that will do him wonders in terms of preparing his tyres and getting them up to a nice temperature.
but Antonelli had that 11.4 seconds space in his pocket, didn't he? But what will Ferrari do with Charles Leclerc? We were talking about this earlier on, and but Mercedes don't have to hair trigger this. They can just have a little look at this for a while. Then they've got a couple of laps in hand before they have to think about what they're going to do if they're going to pit Antonelli as well. Bernie, what can you tell us?
Yeah, I was just going to say the reason that Mercedes or the Ferrari have chosen now with Hamilton is Antonelli's about to come up with about 5 blue flags. So they're hoping that the time he loses through the blue flags and he's gone past this lap, that might be just enough for Hamilton to close that gap and get the undercut done.
Yeah, Kimi Antonelli has got Arvid Lindblad right in front of him. He's just got past Nico Hülkenberg, and there's Colapinto and Sainz just ahead. Lando Norris is very close here to Pierre Gasly, only about 2 car lengths in it as they went through Portier. Here comes Lando Norris trying to get back that 7th place if he possibly can, under braking down the hill into the chicane, and Gasly has got him covered all day.
Yeah, Pierre's got a lot of experience and knows where to place his car. But again, that's 2 drivers holding each other up effectively. But what's surprising me, Piastri, you'd assume with Hadjar's problem, Piastri would just cruise up to the back of George Russell with Russell trapped in there. But McLaren really struggling for pace around Monaco this year.
Slowly but surely, 2 or 3 tenths a lap that Oscar Piastri is managing to close up. Pierre Gasly, highest driver in the championship so far this season, outside of the top 4 teams. Meanwhile, we've got another pit stop coming, and it's for Ollie Behrman. I can see the Haas going past our commentary box now, and another retirement, I think, in this race, which will leave us with 3 outs: Verstappen, Bottas and Behrman.
Yeah, they started the season really well, didn't they, Haas? But it's been pretty tough of late.
They're the only team, Haas, that don't spend up to the budget cap, to the cost cap. We need a bit more investment into that team, and I'm sure there's plenty willing to invest to match the talent that they've got to do more if they had the finances, the budget and the resources to go and do that. Here's George Russell behind Isaac Hadjar into to back. Oscar Piastri is gaining and is now just a couple of seconds behind. Then we head back to Gasly and to Norris. Now, if Leclerc pits now, that will be the gap between himself and Lewis Hamilton, who is about 0.6 of a second slower than Leclerc on the last lap as he starts to get his tyres up to a temperature that nurse them, bring them in, get them up to a working temperature, don't overdo it, and then you'll get the benefits later on in the race. Let's have a look on board with Nico Hülkenberg in the Audi. And he just for a moment thought, as he put the brakes on, that Arvid Lindblad will be right there in the chicane, and it's better to head onto the runoff area. Alex Albon taking the quickest way through the swimming pool chicane. That's glanced the barriers, not hit them and break the suspension. And oh, what a dismal day for Ollie Behrman, sadly. Qualifying didn't go his way. He was about to do some final flying laps, and then Gabriel Bortoleto stopped on the track, and then he had that contact with his teammate at the start at the hairpin here today, and has been trundling around at the back ever since. He'll be back to fight another day, I'm sure. Here comes George Russell once again.
A lot of misfiring this lap. Oh, just noise. Okay, we'll check it.
Remarkably, not breathless at all, is he? Just chatting away there, Lando. So they're going to pit George Russell this time around then, to try to get him through, undercut, to get out on fresh tyres and finally get him past Isaac Hadjar. But where will he feed out? Into the traffic?
Well, he will feed out behind Lando Norris, I would imagine, and ahead of Liam Lawson. They think that Gasly and Norris will be coming in soon enough that they're not going to be holding up George Russell, but what they don't want to do is get stuck behind Liam Lawson as well. Norris and Gasly have gone through, Gasly and Norris have gone through. George Russell back out onto the racetrack, down in 8th place, having made that pit stop. Isaac Hadjar's been told to fail an engine mode if he can, to try and help the situation, and his simple answer to the team is, I can't do it.
good clean pit stop from Mercedes that has put Russell into some really nice space ahead of Liam Lawson to come back through. So that's worked a treat. There's a good chance that can put George Russell up into a net P4 when it all shakes out.
Let's just see Franco Colapinto and his exploits around Sand of Vots. Can we get a little bit close to the wall? Let's have a look. Yeah. He just gave it a little love tap. That's how you take that corner. Well done, sir. To the pit wall, and this time down at McLaren. Zach Brown, I get the feeling, Zach, that you felt it was going to be a frustrating day. How are you feeling with Lando stuck behind Pierre Gasly?
Pretty frustrated. There's just not anything you can do to pass around here, so we'll see how these pit stops cycle through, see if there's any safety cars. Otherwise, I think everyone's going to pretty much run as you see it.
Thanks ever so much, Zach. We'll be back with you in a moment. Isaac Hadjar is in to make his pit stop. George Russell, here he comes, making his way down the straight. George Russell gets ahead of Isaac Hadjar. The undercut on the Red Bull has been completed, and finally, Russell is free.
Lewis Hamilton under investigation for speeding in the pit lane.
Now that is going to be a 5-second penalty at the very least for Lewis Hamilton if he has done it. It's a 60 kilometres an hour pit lane speed limit here. It's not 80 kilometres an hour. It's different because it's so narrow. And Lewis Hamilton, Martin.
5-second penalty for Lewis Hamilton, but he had that in hand.
Do you see the issues with the PU? Yes, we do.
Being power unit engine, if you like. So Hamilton, that was quick, wasn't it? Goodness me. In terms of delivering that penalty, so Hamilton now has got to finish at least. He won't pit again unless there's any kind of dramas out there. He's got to finish at least 5 seconds clear of anybody else, not least his teammate Leclerc, if he wants to win the Grand Prix. And that takes... That'll come in the pits now, I guess.
Last year's winner from pole, Lando Norris, with problems. Zach Brown staring at the screens. We'll go back to him in a few moments and see what information he can give us. Meanwhile, down on our pit lane, Bernie Collins, what you got?
Yeah, Crofty, have a little look there at what Norris's car was doing through that section. Team radio?
2 seconds.
The problem is still here.
Yeah, we're still looking for another fix. We're looking for another fix.
Bernie.
Yeah, so through the tunnel on the last lap, Norris was definitely very down on power. Then I don't know if they've done a switch change, but it now looks okay relative to Piastri. So I'd say his power is back. So not sure what the issue was, but seems to have reset.
Right, Lewis Hamilton has been in for a pit stop. He's got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Ferrari are now going to respond and bring Charles Leclerc in. And this could be interesting. Lewis had a big gap over his teammate. Should still be ahead of Charles Leclerc when the pit stops have been completed, but is this the chance for Charles Leclerc to finish second in this race potentially and ahead of his teammate Lewis Hamilton once the penalty has been applied. There is Hamilton crossing the line, and we'll see in a few moments what that gap is between the two Ferraris.
Yes, it's normally 50 miles an hour, 80 kilometres per hour down the pit lane, but it's so narrow here and twisty in the final part of it that it's down to 40 miles an hour, 60 kph. And that feels very pedestrian in a Formula 1 car, but maybe he's attacked the pit in too hard or let the limiter go a touch too early, whatever it is. It's cost him 5 seconds at the moment.
Now we can speculate. Anthony Davidson can look at the screens.
Yeah, I've had a look at it, Crofty, and Martin's absolutely right. It was on the way into the pits. It was where he speeds, and I think he's just a little bit late on the pit lane speed button, which will hold the car to that 60 kph here in Monaco. Kimi Antonelli out in front, by the way, because of that penalty with Hamilton, has been told you're safe to Lewis by 14 seconds.
And that's just, that's the gap once you've completed your pit stop, and that's what you should be ahead. And George Russell has now been noted for speed. In the pit lane as Franco Colapinto comes into the pits. George Russell stuck behind Isaac Hadjar and losing a lot of time, now being investigated for speeding in the pit lane, which could be another 5 seconds that he's lost in this race.
Bit of a slam dunk, unfortunately, if they've got a number on you. He got lucky with the grid. It looks like he might be unlucky in the pit lane. Let's see what they decide. They were certainly pretty quick in having a look at that earlier, weren't they, for Lewis?
Of all the trials and tribulations today, none of them so far have affected our race leader, Kimi Antonelli. We are at lap 37, so we're edging towards half race distance. Not been a bad first half for him, Martin.
Yes. I was really sad when we lost Max Verstappen, for the team and for him, of course. But I'd love to have seen him in this mix. But, yeah, we'll see how it goes. And the leader's in.
Right, here we go. Kimi Antonelli stops nicely on his marks. The team get to work. Absolutely tickety-boo. At 2.3 seconds, he's back out into the sunshine again after making his pit stop. Isaac Hadjar, who hasn't pitted yet, has gone through. Sorry, Isaac Hadjar, who has pitted, I should say, has gone through, but he's a lap down, and Antonelli still in the lead of this race. Back out onto the track. Nicely done. That should be his one visit to the pits, and he can carry on where he left off.
He's in control now, isn't he? He's absolutely in control, because Hamilton carrying that 5-second penalty, that'll be add to his elapsed time. And of course, you have to have if you're speeding in the pit lane, you have to, and it's factual. That's a competitive advantage. There has to be a penalty for it. Otherwise, everybody would just floor it, basically.
Lando Norris is back up to speed again. They seem to have fixed that Mercedes engine, with a power unit, I should say, which is great. And we can watch him chasing down Pierre Gasly. A little lock-up there from Lando Norris going into Raskas. Arvid Lindblad, meanwhile, is on the tail of Carlos Sainz in the Racing Bulls. Ahead of Sainz is Albon. Ahead of Albon is Liam Lawson. And into Saint-Devote we go once again. Gasly still has the advantage as George Russell is given a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Oh.
Yeah, it sounded fully to me as if Norris was coming in the pits with that when he went straight through the chicane, but clearly a Control-Alt-Delete and he's gone again.
Anthony Davidson at Sky Race Control.
Yeah, so Kimi Antonelli was told actually on his way into the pits, really steady on the pit entry. We don't want to be caught speeding. So I'm guessing by that's where George Russell, like Lewis Hamilton, as I suspected, a little bit late on the button to slow the car down.
Just wonder, it's interesting that two drivers have now been caught for speeding. We think at the start of the pit lane. We don't always see that here in Monaco, although I know as a driver you're trying to push things to the limit, but we don't often see that.
No, but you're turning in blind, aren't you? You turn into the fight, but you miss the final corner, effectively duck underneath it. It's very easy to swing round there and get that wrong.
Right, on board with Lando Norris. We can hear from his CEO, Zach Brown's back with us again. Lando is trying absolutely everything here. I'm assuming, Zach, his power unit's okay?
No, I don't think it is. We're just continuing to run and try and manage through it, but we've got an issue.
I'm going to stop trying to be optimistic here then and just ask what the issue is.
Power unit related.
Okay, that's all you can say at the moment. What about Oscar's race? Currently up in fourth place, hasn't pitted yet. It's solid but not spectacular.
Yeah, no, Oscar's kind of having a cruise out there, so he's doing a good job. And yeah, we'll see when we pit here.
Thanks ever so much, Zach. There's a long way to go here. We've only just gone past half distance.
That looks a bit close, doesn't it? Through the hairpin. That's as flat as I think I've ever heard Zach Brown, actually.
Should be 1,000 Grand Prix of celebration, but really nothing to celebrate in terms of their expectations here. George Russell's got better tyres, hasn't he? Fresher tyres, might be a bit later on the brakes here, is later on the brakes, still can't get past Pierre Gasly, ahead of Norris, ahead of Russell, and there's barely about 7 or 8 car lengths between the three of them.
So he can lose that 5-second penalty comfortably, but not if he's parked up once again. He's just been looking at the rear wing of a Formula One car, hasn't he, for the last 41 laps.
I get the feeling that the Mercedes strategy team felt that Norris and Gasly would have pitted by now, and George would not have been joining up at the back of this queue quite so quickly. Has anyone got enough late braking to try and squeeze through? No, not on this occasion. Needs a bit more tyre degradation, Martin, doesn't it? Needs the tyres to start going off a little bit more.
Yeah, they're pretty robust around here, aren't they, this year? Leclerc, 1 minute 16.5, quite a bit faster than Hamilton. Is Hamilton's in traffic, that's why. But Leclerc can smell a second place now with that 5-second penalty his teammates got.
Guess what? Another driver has been noted for speeding in the pit lane. Franco Colapinto on this occasion has been noted. We'll let you know.
You're right. It's a bit unusually frequent, isn't it? So whether the line's catching them out, but normally that would show up in practice and qualifying.
Yeah, and they would have been practicing their pit lane entry in the practice sessions. No further investigation for Sergio Perez leaving the track and gaining an advantage. He's down in 18th at the moment with only his teammate Valtteri Bottas behind him. The two Aston Martins still on their soft tyres, Stroll and Alonso. Will they have to pit again for a change of tyres? Lance Stroll just been noted actually for leaving the track and gaining an advantage ahead of these. Colapinto, who is under investigation potentially for speeding in the pit lane, and Anthony Davidson's got news at race control.
Yeah, they might play this message out, Crofty, but look at Lando dropping back from the Alpine in front. He's been told to hold Russell up in benefit for Piastri.
So we saw this last year, and we've seen it in the past here in Monaco, by putting on the anchors for Lando Norris, keeping George Russell frustrated and behind him, opening a gap so that Piastri can pit and be ahead of the Mercedes.
Yeah, it's team play. You've got two cars out there, and it's all bona fide. You can just be a little bit slower on all the apexes and braking zones and just protect the line. It sort of feels a bit unfair, but it's just the rules of the game. You can do that. It's absolutely fine to do that, even though it's a bit painful to observe.
Lando, we want to do the holding strategy on Russell. We want to build up the seconds over the next couple of laps, please.
Thing is, Lando Norris now hasn't got overtake mode, has he? Behind Pierre Gasly. George Russell, fresher tyres, has got overtake mode. So George has got a bit more to play with that Lando hasn't.
He has. It's not created an awful lot of overtaking, that overtake mode. There has it so far, but as Colapinto gets a 5-second penalty for speeding as well. Anybody that's coming into the pits yet, they've all got to be told, like, give it extra safety on your way into the pits, because there's something a bit strange going on there. But so Lando just has to be fast coming out of the tunnel and nowhere else. He can just hold George Russell up.
That's George Russell there, Bernie Collins, reading the strategy from the cockpit.
Yeah, exactly. It's incredible what these drivers could do when they're racing around here, Crofty. But what McLaren are doing there, they are trading Piastri, currently in a P6 position by the end of the race, for a P4 position. So 2 positions gained for Piastri. But it will cost Lando Norris, because by dropping back, he is missing the opportunity to get Gasly himself. So it's costing Norris potentially 1 position, but gaining Piastri 2 positions. And that's what the McLaren strategists are trading off. So better overall points for the team.
He's now been told back to normal pace. That 2 seconds a lap that you were deficit to your teammate, get back to normal pace now. We've done enough, thank you.
Yeah, Piastri's got a pit yet, and it's 20 seconds to pit, and he's currently 14 ahead of Russell. So it won't. Russell's got his 5-second penalty as well. But let's see how long he holds him up for.
Here comes George Russell. Sorry, Martin. Just for one moment, I thought that he was going to try and get alongside. He almost did get alongside, but Norris had just enough to hold him off. That's as close as George Russell's got.
Painful message to give to the reigning world champion, isn't it? hold him up, but all's fair in love and war and Formula One.
George Russell has also been noted now. Honestly, if he was not having bad luck today, George Russell, he'd have no luck at all. He's now been noted for crossing the line at the pit exit. Oof. Remember, there is a white line that separates the pit exit from the track. If any part of your tyre is over that white line, even just a fraction, not even the contact patch, but the extremities of the tyre, that's a 5-second penalty coming your way. Think Max Verstappen in Miami with the pit exit there.
Antonelli's just done a 1:15.7. That's 1.5 seconds faster than Hamilton in second place. And what he's going to do, if George Russell keeps getting backed up, Antonelli is going to cruise up behind. And George will have to get out of the way and let the leader through. That will be doubly painful. Alex
Albon now pits. That'll be good news, I think, to the likes of Carlos Sainz, Marvin Lindblad, Nico Hülkenberg behind that. Actually, Sainz has been backing up a little bit to preserve Alex Albon's position in this race. And he'll come back out into this race, Alex Albon, still in that 10th place. Williams doing what they did last year with their two drivers, and that's worked well for them. There's a right train behind Carlos Sainz. Out in front, and Kimi Antonelli. Prince Albert is going to be presenting the trophies to potentially the young Prince of Monaco. Oh, as Lando Norris cuts the chicane.
We're going to box this lap and retire the car. We're going to box the lap and retire the car.
Oh, and that power unit issue that Zach Brown was telling us about is going to cause Lando Norris, last year's winner, last year's world champion, to retire from the Monaco Grand Prix. That's the 4th car out.
Anthony's been looking at the white line incident for George Russell on the exit of the pits. I think he's in trouble.
2 penalties coming George Russell's way. That'll be 10 seconds to add to his time, not confirmed yet. Lawson pits. Hamilton there we saw going through in second place. He's got a 5-second penalty coming his way at the end for speeding in the pit lane. He's 9 seconds clear of his teammate. Charles Leclerc goes through, and Liam Lawson back out into this race in 8th place. And with Lando Norris retiring and Max Verstappen retiring, that's a very solid 8th place for Liam Lawson in this race, to match the 8th place that he found here at Monaco last year, of course. As Lando Norris walks away, such opportunity this weekend, and nothing going his way from FP1 onwards.
And both Williams into the World Championship points at the moment as well. That would be very welcome for them, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and now Carlos Sainz has been told to swap positions with Alex Albon. So I wonder, to preserve Sainz's place, because he's still got a pit in this race, if they're going to do a little bit more backing up to get that double points finish. Gasly now manages to pit after Liam Lawson pitted too, and the fact that he hasn't got Lando Norris all over his rear wing. Back-to-back, by the way, mechanical retirements for Lando Norris. He retired in Canada. He's retired now in Monaco.
Is there a reason for this? Because if I'm Peter, what are you trying to do? I mean, I'm happy to do it, but I just... Are we just risking something for nothing, or...?
Well, I think what they're trying to do is now release Carlos Sainz. Alex Albon backs up the pack. Carlos Sainz hangs on the 10th place. And Alex, you're at the head of a train, my friend.
And he's got to slow them down and let his teammate try and build a pit stop ahead of him. We saw a lot of this last year, didn't we, when they had to do 2 mandatory pit stops. And it was something, I mean, it's something you've always been able to do, but it was very much learned last year, wasn't it, how effective it could be. Bernie down on the pit wall.
Yeah, totally agree with what you're saying on the Williams. That's exactly what they're trying to achieve there. Bit of a question mark with McLaren for me. They started that procedure with Lando Norris, try and pull Russell back, give Piastri that potential shot at P4, and then they aborted it and retired the car, even though it didn't look an immediate jeopardy from the data that I'm looking at. So a bit of a question mark. Why not continue that with Norris for as long as they possibly could in order to give Piastri that shot at P4? Just an open question, really.
George Russell, I think, had got past Lando Norris there. He was already slowing down through the tunnel.
Something's wrong. I got nothing. My battery.
That's why they retired the car when they did, because the battery, and it's the battery again for Lando Norris. Second time this weekend, second race in a row that he's retired with mechanical problems. I think it was battery related, wasn't it, in Canada. So George had got past him through the tunnel, and you can see there where Alex Albon is getting out the chicane, Martin. Right, come on, where are you all? Oh, there you are. Now I'm going to slow down a bit more. This is a legitimate strategical tactic.
Yeah, absolutely. So he'll back that pack up, and at the moment, Sainz has got he's got a long way to go if he's going to build a pit stop, isn't he? Long way to go. It's going to take another 5 or 6 laps of this kind of getting in the way, basically, which is all it is.
It's really, really clever. By the way, just look, Isaac Hadjar is running in 6th place here. He's about to be lapped by our race leader, Kimi Antonelli, who's now 20 seconds clear of Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton on his way for a successive second-place finish for Ferrari, and what would equal Ayrton Senna's record of 8 podium finishes here in Monaco. But look through the hairpin there. They are queuing up, chomping at the bit to get past Alex Albon.
Yeah, we're being too smart with him, guys.
Yeah, okay.
What he's saying?
Oh, I don't get it.
What he's saying is you're really risking my position here in the Grand Prix, but Williams really could do with 2 cars in the World Championship points. They've only scored 7 points this season. Piastri pits this lap as well, and what is currently 4th place, and then and Russell been catching him quickly, so they're desperately trying to get Piastri ahead of Hadjar somehow.
Right. There goes the train through Rascasse, and Alex Albon can probably hear the drivers behind him shouting whatever they're shouting. As there goes for it, Arvid Lindblad, brilliant from Arvid Lindblad. Opportunist move from him. Hulkenberg can't quite get past, but Alex Albon putting on the handbrake, and the anchor for his teammate has been passed. His position was at risk, and it's been replaced. That final point-scoring position by Arvid Lindblad. Meanwhile, great stop for Oscar Piastri, 2.2 seconds, but Isaac Hadjar still goes through quite comfortably indeed. So Piastri back out in 6th place on fresher tyres.
That's exactly what Albon was talking about. Albon on the soft compound tyres out there. They're only 4 laps old, but that was a crucially lost position there for the team.
The one thing that they will be saying to Alex Albon to give him some sort of relief will be Arvid Lindblad has still got to pit. But the key now, Alex Albon actually went straight through the chicane there, didn't he?
Now he's got to let him back through somehow.
No, I think it was out of that final corner that Lindblad got past. Maybe that was the swap around there. We didn't quite see Alex going straight through the chicane. We picked that up a little bit too late for that. Lindblad's got to pit, so Alex still keep people at bay. Your position's okay.
So I think what Albon was in there, he was probably leading him through on the pit straight, is how that overtake took place, isn't it?
Look,
because of the chicane.
Yeah, I just wondered if Arvid had just used a bit of overtake mode.
If we were to stop again under safety car, we have plenty of margin. You just have to be really careful on the entry and exit. What you did last time was perfectly fine.
Yeah, but I don't think we need to stop.
No. It's only safety car. You can get a free stop, that's all.
The calm, reassuring words of Peter Bonington, Kimi Antonelli's race engineer. Just saying, look, just if it's a safety car, you've got a free stop, you'll still be in the lead, you'll be on better tyres, it might just be worth it. And he's just in a great zone at the moment, all on his own. Pounding around against the clock with nobody to challenge him in terms of an overtake this afternoon. Ferrari haven't got the race pace of the Mercedes and the current World Championship leader. Charles Leclerc is catching Lewis Hamilton, by the way, who might have just been slowed down a bit by some back markers, but that gap is down to under 5 seconds between Hamilton and Leclerc, and Hamilton with a 5-second penalty to add to his race time. George Russell has a 5-second penalty. We don't know if there's another penalty coming George Russell's way. He was under investigation for 2, wasn't he?
Yeah, for the white line on the pit exit.
Right. Gasly's now been noted, by the way, for speeding in the pit lane.
Oh, there's an issue there then, isn't it? So the line is moved, or the sensors in the ground. So it seems a little bit odd, but for so many drivers, and that's what they were saying to Antonelli, look, and he didn't understand it fully. If there's a safety car, don't panic, we've got plenty of time. If you see a safety car, don't think, oh no, that's the last thing I need. plenty of time, but be careful in and out of the pits.
Lap 52 of 78. Still, Carlos Sainz, Arvid Lindblad yet to pit in this race.
So Charles Leclerc, 4.8 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton, who has a 5-second penalty. So he's now within, he's at the moment, he's a net second, is Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, he is. Anthony Davidson at Sky Race Control has been watching Alex Albon very closely for the last 3 laps or so.
Yeah, so to had a look back, Crofty, and basically there were 2 separate incidents. So he ran wide just by himself, as we saw.
At the chicane.
At the chicane, but that was a lap before or 2 laps before when he got overtaken on the main straight. Basically, he messed up the final corner, got a terrible exit, and was a genuine overtake.
A genuine overtake here in Monaco. And we don't often say that.
Not an OG, a GO.
You've been waiting how many years to say that one? I like that.
That's when Stormzy called me an OG and I had to go and Google it to see what it meant.
You are definitely the GOAT. You're definitely the GOAT, trust me. Pierre Gasly's got that 5-second time penalty. So that's what 4 drivers I think now that have been caught speeding in the pit lane. Charles Leclerc within 5 seconds of Lewis Hamilton, who's one of those 4 drivers. George Russell a long, long way back. Isaac Hadjar running in 5th place, and has he been lapped? He's about to be lapped into the chicane by our race leader. Here comes Kimi Antonelli on Alex Albon as well.
So next car to lap for Kimi Antonelli is George Russell. If George can skedaddle down the road, he's got a bit of space in front of him up to Lindblad, so George will be giving it plenty, I'd imagine. The last thing he needs to do is to have to pull over and let his teammate lap him.
Yeah, Hadjar has been lapped, so only the top 4 are now on the lead lap. Only 5 cars finished on the lead lap in last year's Monaco Grand Prix. That's going to be a sinking feeling for George Russell. Lance Stroll's just been noted for track limits. He's already been shown a black and white flag for that, so I think it could be a penalty coming his way. Once again, the steward's information page is like a football video printer on FA Cup 3rd round day, to be honest. On board with Nico Hülkenberg chasing Alex Albon. Down towards the hairpin they go. There's always a traffic jam down here any day of the week, and Hülkenberg almost making contact with the rear tyres of the Williams in front, because Albon lapping in the 121s, his teammate lapping in the 118s, is trying to build a nice gap for his teammate to get in and out of the pits and keep in the top 10.
So 4 track limits for Lance Stroll. He'll be getting a 5-second penalty for his troubles on that one, I would imagine, for those down there in 16. We have 18 runners at the moment. So Sainz then is in the pits. Where will he feed back out onto the racetrack? So it was building just about a pit stop, but not quite. But will it be enough? Has Alex Albon done enough with the key players to hold them up?
I'd rather get the feeling, Martin, that he has. Albon down the main straight. Here he comes. Out comes Carlos Sainz. Alex Albon will go through the first corner with Nico Hülkenberg right behind him, and he'll now see his teammate ahead. Williams have executed that pretty nicely.
Yeah, he did get, because Albon was really slowed him down on this particular lap. So what will happen now? They will now try to build a gap, and then Albon will get the place back again.
Exactly. And Lindblad, who has got through after that mistake from Alex Albon, has still got to pit. And talking of pits, not sure what's going on today. Another car under investigation for speeding in the pit lane, this time Oscar Piastri. Yeah. Something has got to be wrong with the sensors down there.
Completely agree. Look at all those red exclamation boxes there. It tells you everything you need to know on the left-hand side of your screen. So something strange is going on. The sensors moved, or the sensors got an issue, and
we're just watching George Russell here. This is the crossing the line. He's got a 5-second time penalty, I think, coming his way a little bit. There's a fraction of tyre might be over that line.
Was it?
Doesn't have to be in contact, does it? It's just
No, you can run along it, you can't cross it, but so Piastri then gets a 5-second penalty as well for speeding. Meanwhile, Antonelli is in the 1 minute 14s just, and his pursuers at best are in the 1 minute 16s. What an extraordinary performance.
Absolutely. Anthony Davidson, Sky Race Control on Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, he was even told, Crofty, before coming into the pits, after the box message, they then warned him specifically about the pit lane entry as well. So I really can't understand what's going on there.
To me, too many drivers have been caught speeding today for this to be the driver's fault.
There's something weird with the engine up the hill.
Having a look.
And that is not what Kimi Antonelli wants to be reporting, Mercedes want to be hearing, or anyone who is a fan of Kimi Antonelli, and there are many, want to be realising either. He's just set the fastest lap of the race. No signs that his pace has slowed down that much on this particular lap.
Leclerc only 2.8, 2.9 behind Hamilton. So remember, Hamilton carrying the 5-second penalty. I can't see them going, actually, you know what, sorry, we had a problem with it, and then deleting all the penalties. They can't do that, can they? But it feels unfair. It feels very unfair at the moment for those that have got a penalty.
A small D-rate, bit of harvesting and charging. Don't worry about it. No further investigation. George Russell for crossing the line at the pit exit. Good.
He was on the line, wasn't he? And,
but not over.
They've decided, they've microscopically looked at it. Good. But George is getting away with it today, isn't he? He's got his speeding penalty, but he's still in the game.
Yeah, what the stewards have, of course, will be a head-on shot there to show in exact detail where the extremities of the tyre was.
Again, Kimi, fastest lap. We don't need them.
Yeah, Bono just wants this brought home now. We're approaching nearly 20 laps to go between now and the end of this race, and he just like, forget the fast stuff, just bring it home. You've got plenty of margin for this race. Lewis Hamilton was about 2.5 seconds clear of Charles Leclerc. That gap's gone back up once again. There's back markers everywhere as they try and lap cars in front of them. When I say back markers, there's only 4 cars on the lead lap, of which George Russell is the second fastest at the moment. His teammate is fastest, but there's something like 50 seconds between the two Mercedes.
Hulkenberg's hustling there. He's not going to let Williams start playing their game of chess and moving their cars around again.
Just looked here, Martin, at the track map as well. Make that 3 cars on the lead lap, because Russell has been lapped in this race. So only 3 cars on the lead lap. Was the last time 3 drivers finished on the lead lap here was 2007. Lewis Hamilton was second in that race that year as well.
But he's a net third at the moment, so Lewis needs to find a bit of pace, or Charles, to keep him honest, keep him under control. Hadjar had all sorts of problems, but he's still there solidly in 5th place.
So there's your margins. Hamilton 28 seconds back. Leclerc 3 seconds back on Hamilton, 49 seconds back to Russell. There's the swap from the 2 Williams drivers that Alex Albon will be very pleased about, and Carlos Sainz will now have to deal with Nico Hulkenberg right behind him. The 2 Williams on the soft compound tyres should have plenty of pace to keep Hulkenberg at bay, but he'll keep plugging on, will Nico, between now and the end of this race.
Start of the World Championship points. Lindblad yet to pit, the only driver who hasn't pitted at this time, currently running 9th.
2 racing bulls in the points for Liam Lawson ahead of him. Pierre Gasly on for a solid points finish in 7th. Let's have a little look at Charles Leclerc into the chicane. Did he just glance the barrier a little bit on the exit? Let's have a look from this angle.
Yes, he did.
Don't want to do that too many times. That'll definitely slow you down.
That's the met of the wheel rim. Obviously, that was a fair. No wonder he was checking his steering heading down to back corner. That was more than a glance. wasn't it? That was a strike.
Yeah, he's got away with that one, as Charles Leclerc. Bernie Collins on the pit wall, down to you.
Yeah, Crofty, I was trying to think about Ferrari, what their strategy would be. What would I do if I had both of those drivers? Leclerc, as you say, closing down Lewis Hamilton. Is the right thing for Ferrari to switch the drivers? Obviously, Leclerc, if they finish now in these positions, would be P2 anyway with that penalty for Hamilton. The reason for doing it would be if there's a safety car now, they cannot.
Caught the safety car, and that will have slowed him down on this lap to come into the pits, and he is coming into the pits. There's the safety car, Bernd Maylander, leading Kimi Antonelli into the pits. The two Ferrari drivers are just coming to the Nouvelle chicane now. Oh, and there's a problem at the left rear tyre. It stopped him for about 2 seconds longer than you would normally imagine. George Russell is pitting too. That might have held George Russell up a touch, and I wonder if he might lose places here. We shall see when it all pans out. Isaac Hadjar going through. Kimi Antonelli will still be leading this race behind the safety car, but the safety car, of course, is going to bunch everybody up, and they had to pit Kimi Antonelli with the two Ferraris on fresher tyres behind him.
Yeah, it's worked out that there's a full safety car, and it's taking a while to get the Aston Martin out of the way, otherwise they'd have been in trouble there. So, Lewis is now served. He just locks his brakes, I think, goes in here.
Let's have a look. Final corner. Anthony Noge.
Yeah.
Got the marbles, didn't he?
Yeah.
Just off the racing line, got off the marbles, crashed at about 47 miles an hour.
Front wishbone's broken as well. So, here we go then. We're going to get like a second phase of this Grand Prix.
So this is Kimi Antonelli when he could have come in.
What do I do?
In.
I was too late.
Okay.
They're gonna pit, man.
Yeah, just a couple of seconds too late for Kimi Antonelli. And I really hope that no one's been speeding in the pit lane.
Yeah.
And we've got more of those penalties coming through. Maybe not going... You can take a wider line going through into the pit lane, but I would imagine the temptation is to go on the inside a bit more there because you're saving a bit of time.
So the safety car scooped them up. It will now use the pit straight to control them at safety car speed. And that was so uncomfortable, the timing, wasn't it, there for Kimi Antonelli? But I think they've covered it well. But of course, everybody's being lapped apart from the two Ferraris, so they'll presumably all be allowed to unlap themselves before we get a restart.
Yeah, this could take a bit of extra time, Bernie, to let all the lap cars through and unlap themselves.
This is the issue with Monaco. It does take a long time to get them all collected up. I think they've been helped there actually by the safety car coming through the pit lane. Team radio.
I don't even know why I'm listening. I honestly, at that point, I know we need to become better, but no. Why are you not letting me out? I didn't even understand your explanation, to be honest.
Thanks, Bernie.
Charles is not happy in there.
Let's go back down to Bernie on the pit lane.
Yeah, I was just going to comment quickly, Crofty, on Russell. Russell, obviously, we discussed a lot, was carrying that penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And a bit of work across me and Ant went through the onboards. He did not serve his penalty when he took his pit stop under the safety car. And for me, that is not allowed in the regulation. So the bad luck continues, I think, for Russell.
Oh, so you would imagine then, Bernie, that the stewards, if he hasn't served his penalty, will look at that and say, no. You serve it the next time you come in, or at the end of the race if you don't. Here's a double whammy coming your way.
Yes, correct, Crofty. You need to serve the penalty the next time you come into the pit stop. So he has not served that 5-second penalty for me, and therefore that is another penalty for not serving the 5-second penalty.
Because, Martin, you're gaining a sporting advantage.
On the replay now.
Here we go, let's just watch this. So he cruises in, and the jack touches, got everything, they just go for it. So he has not. Bernie's absolutely spot on. But he has not served his penalty. That's why he was hesitant to leave, I think.
Yeah. But they've done that. And George would have got a sporting advantage by not waiting 5 seconds because others were coming in behind him.
Yeah, and especially here. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. So, if you have to serve your penalty, you lose track position. And you do have to serve your penalty, as Bernie points out.
So Kimi Antonelli had a lead of 29.9 seconds when the safety car was deployed. If he'd have held that lead, it would have been the largest winning margin in Monaco in the 21st century. That 21 seconds has gone now. Lapped cars can overtake the safety car and they can get themselves out of the way so we can get racing once more. And it's the latest safety car we've had in Monaco here since 2017. If you are Kimi Antonelli, everything's gone your way here this afternoon. You've got no reason, Martin Brundle, to think things won't go your way again. But you've got a 7-time world champion in Lewis Hamilton now breathing right down your neck. And you've got in the other Ferrari, Charles Leclerc, breathing down his neck and yours as well.
Yeah, but they've all got freshish soft compound tyres on. So, and Antonelli's had more than enough pace all afternoon, kind of in any circumstance. So I don't imagine he's feeling too under pressure, but he could have done well without it. I'm sure he'd have been much happier if he could have had a nice, comfortable run to the line, because now his mirrors are full of Ferraris.
The order hasn't changed with those pit stops behind the safety car. Isaac Hadjar still fourth, George Russell and Pierre Gasly fifth and sixth, Piastri, Lawson, Lindblad and Albon completing the top 10. For George Russell, if he, as we can see, hasn't served that 5-second penalty, there's another one coming his way, and that fifth place might be very difficult to protect between now and the checkered flag.
I always think we've got this back to front. The leaders should be allowed to go to the front of the lapped runners and get on with it.
Yeah.
But we do it the other way round.
Who didn't stop during the course of that safety car? I think everyone did. Isaac Hadjar had hard tyres. He put another set of hards on, I believe. Anthony, to you.
Yeah, just to pick up on what Bernie was saying about the George Russell situation, Crofty, and from what I can fathom, he was told to stay out during that situation, and he came into the pits. I think it was a bit of confusion going on there from what I can read into the radio messages based on where the car was on track. They had to double stack. It's quite a lengthy double stack for Russell, and they changed tyres immediately as soon as he got into his pit box, so there was definitely no waiting around. But from what I can hear, he was told to stay out.
Right, interesting. So it's split-second decisions that need to be made. by experts in their craft, and the time is not always on their side.
And have I served my penalty or not? I spent about 10 seconds into pit lane.
George, let's talk about it after.
Yeah, I just need to know if I'm getting a 5-second penalty and I'm sitting behind Hajar on hard tyres.
I'll give you the messages as the messages come through. Okay.
Yeah, all right then.
George Russell communicating there with his race engineer and not sounding overly confident in the outcome.
I fear it might even be more than 5 seconds. They can give up to 10 in that situation because it is a big sporting advantage. Safety car is in this lap.
Right. As the back markers are far enough away from our race leader, Kimi Antonelli, so we can get going again. There's his teammate, George Russell. He had been lapped, so he's trying to get himself a little bit further towards Isaac Hajar. But there, Isaac Hajar's built himself a nice little gap here, to be honest, after unlapping himself. And George is quite a long way back, and Lindblad's quite a long way back from Russell. But the key thing here, Martin Brundle, is Kimi Antonelli, championship leader, 19 years of age, going for his first ever Monaco Grand Prix win, and what will be his 5th Grand Prix win in a row. And now, after a 30-second margin over Lewis Hamilton, that gap is down to a couple of car lengths.
It's gone now.
Safety car has gone. No one can overtake until the start-finish line. But
the car's alive, isn't it?
Yeah, those tyres are cold on both cars, I think, there. Hamilton, down the straight we go with Antonelli, the car in front to try and chase into Sander Vott. Looks all a little bit cautious. Charles Leclerc is out. Charles Leclerc has gone into the barriers, and that happened at the final corner. Said the tyres were cold. Did he get on the marbles? Did that cost Charles Leclerc there? But he's definitely out of his home race. We're going to get another safety car, and it's all gone wrong for Charles Leclerc on lap 66 for the Monaco Grand Prix.
Oh dear, Charles. So all Antonelli really had to do was spot the braking point into Sander Vott. He did that beautifully, but safety's going to have to do it again yet, as Leclerc angry with himself. And that'll put Hajar then up into a podium position with Russell right on his tail.
Charles Leclerc, let's have a little look at what happened here. Cold tyres, cold brakes. He was urging the safety car to go a bit faster. Lewis Hamilton locked up ahead of him. Where's that left front tyre? There's a bit of resurfaced tarmac on the left-hand side, Martin. I'd like to see that on board again.
Honestly, I'm not even going to take the blame. No. These brakes.
Look at the tarmac he gets on, which looks like it's breaking up a little bit, to be fair.
Very similar to Stroll.
Yeah.
Almost a carbon copy of Stroll. So have we got something going on that piece of tarmac if you're a little bit wider? Because that was... He just had no grip when he got there. He had no grip. He can't blame himself too hard for that one.
Cars coming through the pit lane once again.
Gasly noted for speeding in the pits
for a second time for an Alpine in this race, but another driver noted for speeding in the pit lane. Isaac Hajar is now up into the podium places, a podium place for what
even feel it sort of developing, I'd imagine. Charles.
He's furious. He's absolutely furious. A week that started so brilliantly well. Oh, look at that. With the contract extension for Ferrari.
Where it's all broken up.
So there's two lots of peril here then. Pit in and the speed limiter, which has clearly got some kind of issue because it's just tripping up way too many people, even though they're told to be cautious about it. But that little piece of tarmac right into the final corner. And yeah, as soon as you get on what we call marble, literally marbles, and your tyre just rolls across the surface, and it's just a hopeless feeling. And the trouble, I know what it's like. That for Charles Leclerc there, we've all had it. You are so full of adrenaline.
Oh, we're going to red flag this race. They're going to red flag this race. And I wonder if this is to do with the final corner. Charles Leclerc's Ferrari has been
about it.
Track temperature was about 45 degrees when we started this race. It's down to 30.
See how they want to do the restart here.
What's going on with this?
George Russell is being investigated, and we feel a double whammy penalty might be coming his way. But Martin, I want to get going in this race. I do want to see this through to the checkered flag for no reason other than Kimi Antonelli and Lewis Hamilton on the front row, standing starts, if we can get a restart, and a blast down the Sand of Oz. Come on, bring it on.
Oh, that's a tricky one. That is a tricky one. Look how long that is. It's 3-4 meters long. They can clean it up.
This has all been resurfaced, by the way, since last year's race, this bit here.
And it's particularly fresh, that bit, doesn't it? So we can give it a clean and tell the drivers to be careful of it. What they're going to do here. This is highly unusual, to say the least.
Now, he was blaming brakes, Charles Leclerc, there. Might not just be brakes.
Agreed.
And Lance Stroll. Went out during the race, brought out the first safety car. There's Fred Vasseur in the background there. Great to see Fred, by the way, back at the racetrack today, and well after his short visit to a local medical centre.
Yeah, he looked fine earlier on when I saw him. But you're absolutely right. On this restart, they can decide it's going to be a rolling start or a standing start. And we'll find out in due course, assuming we do get a start. So I guess if you've cleaned all the marbles away, depends how the rest of that surface look. But this is touch and go. I think that's really touch and go. Looking at a critical turning point there, you can tell the drivers you've got to miss it. It's like, you've got to miss the barriers as well. You've got to miss some of the pavements and curbs and manhole covers. Let's see what they do.
Isaac Hadjar started fifth, on the verge of a Monaco podium for him after all his troubles with the power unit earlier in the race. He's still in this race and he's on for a podium currently. Franco Colapinto would love a restart and a chance to improve. On his P13 position currently. Esteban Ocon on the fringes.
Case scenario there for George. He will be desperate that they restart this race. Meanwhile, Anthony has left Sky Race control and dashed to the Sky pad.
Yeah, bit of a sprint in my smart shoes, but I made it. So it's quite far from where the commentary box is, but I wanted to show you a few things here. So starting off at the beginning of the race, I just want you to look at this area here. Very different, this fresh bit of tarmac compared to how it unfolds, quite literally, as the race progresses. So the track was in, obviously, a good state at the start, and later on, we get to the Stroll crash, and we've seen this car is very hard to drive all season so far, and they had some further crashes or incidents during FP1 and 2 where the braking seemed to be catching the drivers out. So when I saw Stroll in the barrier, I just kind of assumed it was either the car that had broken or sent him off into the barrier. So after seeing Leclerc's crash, I thought, let's go back and have a look at this. So this is under full racing speed, of course, and on the exit, I'll stop it because this one, I think, shows it in the best detail. I've just seen that freeze frame of how the track was at the start of the race. Look at this area now. The track all broken up. There's a hole there. I'll just take away the zoom function and just go through a few more frames here. And what I first thought up at Sky Race Control were marbles at the side of the track. I don't think it is. I think this is the actual pieces of tarmac that have broken up and are laying on the side of the track. So poor old Stroll is trying to avoid that part and edging the car closer than what would necessarily be the racing line or ideal line into the corner. He gets onto these marbles of tarmac instead of rubber, and you can start to see them get picked up by the tyre here. Look at these massive chunks that are getting picked up by the soft rubber, and he's got no chance to make the corner. The lock goes on and straight into the barrier, and he's probably thinking, what on earth, where did that understeer come from? Because in the car, as Zach was saying, Piastri hasn't mentioned it because it's probably quite hard to see.
We sweep it up. The drivers know where it is. They can have a look at it, and we can restart this race. Because it's like, I don't know, it's like a rainy day, and there's lots of puddles. You've got to avoid the puddles. So I believe that we can, looking at that, I believe we should. It's a low-speed corner. It's not a high-risk situation for marshals. It's not a high-risk situation for drivers or fans. Drive around it like you drive around some standing water that you don't want to aquaplane on.
That's the clean-up operation, the marshals with the broom. So it's that thin strip there. That it's not a pothole, Martin, but it's clearly the bits of asphalt underneath the surface. And if you stay off it, then it's not going to break up anymore. If you go on it, you are going to get bits of track stuck to your tyres, because tyres are sticky and they are hot, and they're going to give you what they gave Charles Leclerc and Lance Stroll, no grip whatsoever, and you're not going to make the corner. It's only a slow speed corner, 46, 47 miles an hour. Is it safe enough for the FIA to say, look, we're going to resume this race, but take your risk if you go out there, stay off it, you'll be absolutely fine? Can they make that decision?
Yep. I might even say to the drivers, come and have a look at this. Come and have a look, see what you're dealing with, and then get on with it. And Gasly's angry because he's got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Pretty much half the field have done that now. Is that his second one? Is that Gasly's second one? I've lost track.
Pinto got one.
I know Gasly got one earlier on as well. But anyway, something bizarre. It's the same zone. Actually, the pit in is 10 metres away from the bit that's breaking up. It's really catching everybody out today, that little zone. But the problem is when you come into the pits, you swing around the back of a barrier and you're straight onto the line. But they would have noticed that in practice and in qualifying.
Confirmation from Bernie Collins, who has gone back and scrolled back on her timing screen that she can do. Can't, sadly. It is 2 penalties for Pierre Gasly for speeding.
Yes, that's so.
There's new verb for me, that one. To resume. No, nice one, Martin Brundle. Charles Leclerc is on his way to speak to the media. We can go down to Bernie Collins. Bernie.
Yeah, can you hear it?
now.
Yes, someone has turned my microphone up. I was silenced. But what I was going to come in quickly with, Crofty, is looking up and down the order. Obviously, under the red flag, they can all change their tyres. I expect them all to be putting on a soft tyres. There'll be only 9 flying laps when they leave the pit lane at the end of this. The big benefit, do you remember our discussion with the 2 Williams and that Arvid Lindblad had gone by and not done a pit stop yet? Well, he has still not done a pit stop.
But he can change his tyres though now, can't he?
Yes. So he can change his tyres now, and if they get going again, he'll have completed the Monaco Grand Prix without a pit stop and got that car into a beautiful P8 position. Maybe even more, depending on the penalties that happen ahead. So very fortunate for Arvid Lindblad that he's not done that pit stop before the red flag. If it gets going again, I have to still go through all the regulations to figure out if it doesn't get going again, he's obviously not compliant with the regulations of having done 2 sets of tyres. So a bit of work for me to do on that one still. But just in case it gets going, Arvid Lindblad in a very strong
position. That's the risk you take by leaving your pit stop, your mandatory pit stop, or running of 2 different compounds of tyres as long as they've left it at Racing Bulls. The benefit is obviously there. If he changes his tyres now, he's not lost any of race time by pitting during the racing action, so that promotes him up to 8th. But if we don't get a resumption, and I think we probably are going to get a resumption, if we don't get a resumption, then I think you do get a penalty then, because you've not run the 2 compounds. Now, let's have a look once again at what happened to Lance Stroll, because I think we can hear from him after this in the media pen. This is into Raskas, and he's looking now to try and just avoid that break up of tarmac. Didn't happen, into the barriers. Let's hear from him from Natalie.
Lance, you had an almost identical incident to Charles Leclerc at the same spot. How aware were you of the damage to the asphalt there?
No, for me, I don't think it was the damage. We had engine braking issues all race, so and all weekend, all year. Some corners it's pushing me forward, the engine. Some corners it's like pulling, so it's doing different kind of behavior in different areas. And on this lap, it just pushed me into the wall like you have the throttle pedal half open, just pushing you into the wall.
So a coincidence that it was in the same place? I mean, were you aware of the damage to the...
I think it's coincidence. I think we had different issues in the race.
But in terms of racing there, were you aware of that? If you look behind you on the screen, you could see that strip of tarmac. Were you aware of that?
Maybe it was braking a bit, but my issue was just the engine was like pushing me into the wall. That was my problem.
Thank you.
I think when he sees what's going on out there, I think that's obviously he's not had any benefit of seeing what's been going on with the racetrack. He might change his mind on that. But George Russell has some very bad news.
He does. A drive-through penalty for George Russell for failing to serve his initial 5-second penalty correctly. They didn't wait long enough, Bernie. It's a drive-through penalty. Now, will he pit again? Potentially not, for strategy, to serve that drive-through penalty, and if he doesn't, how do you apply it at the end of the race?
Yeah, so if you don't serve a penalty, if you don't do a penalty by the end of the race, a drive-through, for example, a drive-through they should do within 3 laps if this race restarts. If you don't get it served or you're too close to the end of the race, it's 20 seconds they add on. Now in Monaco, the pit lane is shorter than that 20 seconds. So even if it is in the closing laps of the race, you would try to serve that penalty. That is a penalty that cannot be served under the safety car. So if we were, let's say, to restart under safety car conditions, it can't be served. It will be added on at the end. One final thing, just we watched that pit stop through for George Russell there, and you could see the confusion. Ant explained very well where that came from. The pit lane weren't ready for him. George was actually quite a lucky boy that they even had tyres out there if they weren't ready for him. But the team will have been told, and we go through this time and time again, wait, they'll call it the 5 seconds out. That comes from the pit wall. That'll be given down to the guys in the pit crew. If you hear someone start, if you hear the jack or another gun, you've already messed up the penalty, so you might as well get going. And that was the delay on the front right. They knew they were supposed to serve the penalty. They heard some others go, and then they had to catch up. So very mixed from Mercedes, but I think that, and George will still, I believe, have to serve the original penalty as well.
Yeah.
So there's quite a lot adding up on top of George Russell's day. So he'll be hoping they at least get some racing and it starts to spread out a little
George
bit.
Russell's going to be out of the points here, Martin. The lap cars are going to be unlapping themselves and pushed to the front of this queue. George is going to find himself out of the points, surely. And that is for a second race running, with his teammate winning and potentially winning, to lose out on the points, not what he wanted in the slightest. George Russell in what is his 158th Grand Prix, same number as yourself, of course, Martin, and not going his way at all. And at the Skypad, to you.
Yeah, thanks, Crofty. So, brilliantly explained by Bernie as well. So hopefully this will fully explain to the viewers back at home exactly what I heard on Sky Race Control. So I'm just going to play it. I won't talk over it because you're going to hear some team radio and it all unfolds like this.
Staying out. Staying out.
Let's
Sorry,
go through the pit lane. Get
Take on
tyres.
the pit lane.
Get tyres ready to swap. What am I doing?
And there we go. I think that's the easiest Skypad piece I've ever had to do. There's no explanation
Try
needed.
harder next time.
So you can see how the engineers wanted him to stay out for obvious reasons, and then just that moment where you're just that delay. It's always hard around this track, as we know, with the GPS to know where the car is for the engineering team, and George is already peeling into the pits like everyone else was in front of him.
Yeah, and had he not have done that, Martin, then he loses out behind the safety car and he loses track position. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Wasn't that one of those moments where everybody was going through the pit lane anyway?
Yeah.
When at that time they were all obliged to go through the pit lane because the car was stuck out on the track. So poor old George, it just will not fall into place with him, because when he serves that penalty, he's going to fall to the back of pretty much everybody. But Kimi Antonelli absolutely dominated this event. Brilliant pole, brilliant start, completely under control. And here he is still facing peril to get it over the line in these final few laps. Bernie.
Yes, hello. So I'm obviously in my position at the pit wall. I was just going to ask Crofty to confirm something for me. Crofty will know the answer to this for sure. Stewart's office, is that just upstairs to my left-hand side?
It is down that end of the pit lane, yes.
Yes, so who do you think I would have spotted running into the steward's office to try and potentially plead their case?
Toto Wolff?
No. George Russell has hopped out of his car. They all get out of the car during the red flag. I've just seen Kimi Antonelli there go back to the garage to chill out. Russell has come down, spoken to some of the FIA people at the front of the line of cars, hopped over the barrier, up the stairs and into the office. So I think he's pleading his case, but maybe there'll be another penalty for going up and pleading his case mid-race.
If you do it politely, they don't mind. But let's just be absolutely clear here. P3 Hadjar, P4 Russell, P5 Gasly all have some kind of penalties or investigation going on. Hadjar's still an investigation for a safety car infringement that can soon be a drive-through as well.
Now this is potentially what happened here. Is that backing up too far?
Hadjar's 10 car lengths. Way more than 10 car lengths.
Yeah, he's trying to make himself some space. You can't do that. You can't disadvantage your rivals. You've got to stay within 10 car lengths of the car in front. And that is, George knows his rules. And that is what they're looking at then for Hadjar. I mean, Piastri's sitting there having served his penalty, actually sitting there with a possible podium, believe it or not, in 6th place.
Yeah. Ferrari fans still have Lewis Hamilton as their hopes for this race. Charles Leclerc is out, Lance Stroll is out, Lando Norris is out, Ollie Behrman out, Valtteri Bottas out, Max Verstappen out after the first lap of the race. This is what happened to Charles Leclerc. The race was red flagged shortly after this. Got onto that surface, no chance of avoiding the barriers. Let's hear from him. He's with Natalie.
Charles, it's either heroics or heartbreak here in Monaco for you. I'm so sorry that you're here again now with that massive disappointment. You talked initially about the brakes, as you have done before, but then we're seeing that there is damage to the asphalt. So what was it down to, do you think?
Brakes.
Nothing to do with the damage to the asphalt?
I mean, it doesn't help to have enough asphalt that is coming off, but data speak for itself, and I don't know how much I can go into the detail. It's extremely frustrating. I think I've always been very honest, and no matter how many mistakes I do, I will hate to look at myself in the mirror and see myself finding excuses when I do a mistake. So that's why I'm always bluntly honest whenever I'm in front of cameras, but I'm not going to take any of it today. The amount, it's not even braking. I touch the brakes, and there's just something with those brakes that on the front brakes it just broke a lot more than what I thought, and in the rear brakes it had no deceleration at all. It's like I had no rear brakes at all. And yeah, that's what I'm dealing with since 2 races now. We've had some differences of brakes in between cars, but I don't think it's been a disadvantage for me at all. And in Montreal, with cold tire temperatures, the inconsistency and the tires being a lot more sensitive because you're on the limit of those, have just been an absolute nightmare. And I'm weighing my words. I mean, I don't have much words today. I look like an idiot, and when you look like an idiot for a mistake of yours, it's fine, but it's borderline dangerous.
Well, you certainly don't look like an idiot. I mean, there's obviously a fundamental problem there. So had it not been at that point of the track somewhere else, and that is clearly a massive headache going in when we've got 6 races in 8 weeks. This is a problem that you've got to get on top of.
Yeah, but
a circuit like Barcelona, another configuration again.
Yeah, we do have the solution, and yeah, I will go into Lewis's direction from next race onwards, and that will solve the issues I deal with. Maybe Lewis's configuration has other issues, but yeah, I just need consistency at that point, and yeah, that's it.
Bad luck today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Charles Leclerc, for a man who has no words, had plenty of words there to dissect, and there's a lot of information to bring you as well. First and foremost, resumption in 11, nearly just over 10 minutes time. Secondly, Lewis Hamilton is now under investigation for a safety car infringement. Was he backing up too much? Is there a penalty going Lewis Hamilton's way? Honestly, more penalties than a World Cup final at the moment, or a Champions League final. Sorry, Arsenal fans. But Charles Leclerc talking there about the difference between himself and Lewis Hamilton on the brakes and the issues that he's been having. So Lewis was definitely backing up a bit whilst warming up his tyres. The key here, Martin, as you say, is was anyone disadvantaged behind Lewis Hamilton and who then had to slow down behind that safety car as a result of Lewis being more than 10 car lengths behind, and he definitely was.
He's about 30 car lengths behind there, isn't he? What that does is then it can disadvantage who's in front of you then if they have to back right up towards the end of the lap to when they become the de facto safety car, the leader. But yeah, they're fundamentals. Your 10 lap, I mean, you can't measure it precisely, of course, sitting in the car, but you get a good feel for it.
Temporary repairs have been completed at turn 19. That is why we've got this race resumption. Let's hear just a little bit more team radio concerning George Russell for the time being as we look into Alex Albon's car. Let's have a little listen to this.
What's going on in the last corner? It looks like the track's breaking up.
Yeah, I think it is.
The track is starting to break up into the last corner.
I mean, that's very, this circuit is pretty dangerous.
Safety car exit of turn 1.
this track's in and out.
The drivers were aware of what was happening there before the race was suspended. Interesting.
Some of them, anyway, were reporting it back. So, yes, under a red flag situation, you can change the tyres. So that's what's helping Arvid Lindblad. You can change parts on the cars as well, as long as you put back on something that is identical in weight and design to whatever damage you're repairing.
Right, just under 8 minutes to go. We wanted a resumption. We're going to get a resumption. It's 12 minutes past 5 here in Monaco. Arvid Lindblad has been able to change his tyres for the first time in this race and get a free stop. Cameraman needs to get out of the way because Lewis is... Whatever he does at the restart might all be to avail because he could have a penalty coming his way, as could Isaac Hadjar, as could George Russell, as could Pierre Gasly. At this rate, Martin Brundle, Liam Lawson could be on the podium here for the first time in Formula One.
Great chance here if it is a standing start. We don't know yet if it's a standing or a rolling or a safety car rolling start, do we? So I would assume in these conditions they will have a standing start, and that then is all bets off with the rush down to the first corner, isn't it, between Hamilton and Antonelli. Let's wait and see what the race director decides. Whether it's a safety car restart or a standing start.
What do the drivers and engineers talk about during this red flag moment? You know, when you've got 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Just detail, everything that matters. There won't be a wasted word.
Talking of no wasted words, down to the pit wall, Bernie Collins.
Yes, Crofty, hopefully no wasted words, but a few things. Pick up on Martin's point. I believe it'll always be a standing start unless conditions make that unsafe. So we're in fully dry conditions, so I would therefore expect a standing start. What do the engineers and drivers talk about? Exactly that. They know their grid position. They know that they expect it's going to be a standing start. That's a different grid position, apart from Antonelli, to how they started the race. What's the grip like going to be there? What's their clutch position going to be? They're a much lighter fuel than they normally do a standing start. So be going through all of these things, the target that they set for the driver's clutch to do that start at the beginning of the race will be very, very different to the target that they set now. So some of that conversation will be happening. They'll be talking about which soft tyre they're going to put on, what temperatures it will be at, what pressures it will be at, and therefore how that might affect their start and their run to turn one. Some of the drivers will also look at any of the onboards that they have from the first start and the first run to turn one. And all of that they'll be trying to compute to get the best launch off that line and into turn one in this session. There'll be lots and lots going on and trying to improve the car. What their front wing angle is, like they would normally do on a pit stop. How can they get the most out of the 8-9 laps that we have remaining?
I completely agree with you, Bernie, on that. And it's an important point that they're now running on low fuel instead of full tanks of fuel. The only thing I'm wondering is if they think that track is potentially dangerous there, whether that might sway more of a safety car restart. But I'm expecting a standing start.
A rolling start would probably be would involve that final corner more into what's going on to make that start. Safety car's gone off and they all want to get the best launch possible. That is negated when you've got that standing start, and we do much prefer a standing start to resume a race than we've had before. Now the cars now need to be arranged in order. So push the cars to the front in the correct order has been the instruction. Kimi Antonelli in car number 12 and Lewis Hamilton in car number 44 and Isaac Hadjar in car number 6 being the top three here.
So they're going to push the cars to the front in order, starting with Lindblad and then Albon and Sainz. So they'll be allowed out first to go and try to unlap themselves again.
Yeah, that will be the second time they've been able to do that during the course of this afternoon.
Lindblad's the highest place of the lap runners and then everybody behind him. So that's why they're moving them to one side to let those go through.
Yeah, it's not the work of a moment trying to organise the cars down in the pit lane. Even though there's not 22 anymore, we've lost 6 from this race. If you are just joining us, it's quite the eventful Monaco Grand Prix. Max Verstappen with power unit issues after the first lap. Valtteri Bottas, car getting too hot and brake issues. Ollie Behrman, after making contact with his teammate Esteban Ocon, going into the back of him at the hairpin, had to come in for an early pit stop, never recovered from that. Lando Norris, power unit issues for him, and a second time in 2 races that he's retired with power unit issues. And then Lance Stroll and Charles Leclerc crashing at the final corner where the track was breaking up and has had temporary repairs in the last few moments, hence the red flag. And a session that is going to restart very soon.
The FIA have said unlikely to go straight for the standard restart. There'll be some laps behind the safety car. They've said they'll take a very dim view of people leaving more than 10 car lengths.
Because there are 2 drivers under investigation for just that. They happen to be the driver in 3rd place and the driver in 2nd place that looked like, certainly did, leave more than 10 car lengths. Whether anyone was disadvantaged behind, it might need a driver and their team representative going to see the stewards after this Grand Prix to argue that case.
Yeah, we might. Well, let's see what they do. We might not have a result until a bit after this race finishes, if it ever finishes. It's wow, what an event. What a bizarre afternoon of Formula One in many respects.
It's Monaco, and seriously, often things don't happen, but there are times when anything could happen. Just to add to the spicy restart ingredients here, by the way, Arvid Lindblad's just left the pit lane with a brand new set of soft compound tyres on. I don't think anyone else has got new softs at this stage. So he's got his teammate Liam Lawson just ahead of him, and Oscar Piastri just ahead of him, and he could be properly chomping at the bit to make some passes there. These are the lapped cars that are now unlapping themselves. That's why they've left the pit lane before the resumption. They'll now line up behind Liam Lawson, who was the last driver on the lead lap when the race was red flagged. And in 5 seconds time starting now, they can all leave the pit lane.
Yeah, I said earlier on they need to give the drivers a bit of a look at what's out there if we restart. I think they're going to do that in terms of behind the safety car. Let them have a look at the track.
So there goes Kimi Antonelli then, who has led this race for every single lap. And it could be the 6th time in the last 8 Monaco Grand Prix that a driver has led from start to finish. It could be the day that Kimi Antonelli wins 5 Grand Prix in a row. It could be the day that he joins a list of drivers that have won 5 in a row, all of whom who have won the championship that particular season. And he is, by the way, the driver who was classified last in last year's Monaco Grand Prix as a rookie. What a day he is having.
Yeah, so you can see Kimi's 10 ahead of, more than 10 ahead of Lewis, who's way more. But if the driver in front of you just blats it and goes, so I think it's if you brake, if you're slowing down, you can't with 1,000 horsepower under your right foot. It's not that difficult to gap the guy by 10 car lengths behind you. That you're talking of 50 metres.
Hajar again is leaving massive gaps.
So George Russell, who has got a drive-through penalty to serve, is noting what Isaac Hajar is doing. Lewis Hamilton did have to accelerate to get to Kimi Antonelli, and that might be a defence for why he was more than 10 car lengths behind before. And Isaac Hajar will say, well, I'm just doing what I'm doing here, and others are going faster around me. Look at that, Colapinto, Gasly, Russell.
It's slow, I don't have enough power.
Oh, dear, not again.
Keep pushing. Aero lower power is coming back.
Right, no further action. Lewis Hamilton for a safety car infringement. So the top 2 are going to be free to race here. So no penalties thus far are going to affect the top 2 in this race.
just waiting here. I'm looking at this computer. I'm just waiting to see if it says standing start. I'm pretty sure it will do, but that's now the most critical thing for the rest of the afternoon as to how are they going to get this race back underway.
And these laps all counting.
Standing start.
Standing start has come up. These laps all counting, obviously, for the final total. You can't do any extra formation laps because you'll run out of fuel potentially. But we've got our wish, Martin. Standing start.
I think they have just swept it.
Yeah, it's still broken up.
It could be.
So the repairs were to get rid of the debris, the detritus on the track surface. So you've got to avoid it. You've got to avoid that piece of tarmac that has broken up, a piece of asphalt that has broken up at the final corner. Because there's definitely, the surface has gone, and we've seen two cars come a cropper at exactly the same spot. Are you ready for this, Martin? This, whatever is going to happen here, but I don't know how this is going to work out.
Well, we know the Ferrari's mighty off the start. Obviously, Antonelli's got an 8-metre head start, starting again on pole position, effectively. But they have improved the Mercedes starts as well. He was fine earlier on today, but this is a great chance for Lewis Hamilton to steal this away from the young man who took his drive.
So we'll do the race start, and then we'll get 2 racing laps, and then we will need to do a drive-through penalty.
And that is the news that tells George Russell his race for the points could be pretty much well and truly ended. Parked up on pole, Kimi Antonelli. Alongside him, Lewis Hamilton. Third on the grid, Isaac Hadjar. And then alongside him, George Russell.
Kimi's wasting about 10-12 centimetres there, isn't he, up to the yellow line. You can actually go over the yellow line as well a little bit. So probably, third of a metre or something. He ought to be stealing there. But anyway,
every inch.
Look at Lewis ahead of the yellow line. That might just be critical down there.
Every inch crucial on any given Sunday. Here we are once again in Monaco, our second start of the afternoon. We're racing to lap 78. It's lights out and away we go. Hamilton reacts quicker. Antonelli is away well though. And there goes Kimi Antonelli into the lead. Lewis Hamilton second. George Russell third. Pierre Gasly's ahead of Isaac Hadjar. Slow start from him. He's lost 2 places. He's now got Oscar Piastri swarming all over him. And towards Massenet we go. Antonelli is streaking away out in front. And there comes George Russell holding up the pack to a certain extent as Lewis Hamilton chases after Kimi Antonelli.
Yeah, they're really stacked up behind Russell, who's trying to buy himself a little bit of space. He knows he's got a 20-second loss coming. And look at this side by side.
Brilliant move from Hulkenberg, but he tags Carlos Sainz and the Williams is out. And his 100% point scoring record here comes to an end at the restart. Hulkenberg down the inside was making up places, and then Sainz was in his way just when he didn't need it. Another retirement here as Antonelli leads by 1.5 seconds. And are we going to get that Williams out of the way? Yes, I think we are. Shouldn't need another safety car.
Bizarrely, the medical car was just coming round that blind corner at Portier as Sainz was heading in the wrong direction.
Lap 71 of 78. There's your race leader, Kimi Antonelli. There's Lewis Hamilton right behind him. And for the second time this afternoon, Antonelli absolutely nails the start. And he's onwards now towards a first Monaco Grand Prix win. Behind him comes George Russell. Behind Russell, Pierre Gasly up in the 4th place. Is it a podium this afternoon for Gasly? But he's got a penalty coming his way, remember.
We haven't seen what happened to Sainz yet. Has he cleared the racetrack? There is an escape road there for them to put the car into, but he's still showing, stuck on the side of the track on the driver tracker. Let's see where Carlos Sainz is.
I think Carlos Sainz might have got tagged by Franco Colapinto, and that's when he then made contact with Nico Hulkenberg. We'll see, as Hulkenberg was coming through on the inside, what happened there. Hamilton's gained a couple of tenths on Antonelli on this lap. Russell, Gasly, Hadjar, Piastri, Lawson ahead of Lindblad, Albon ahead of Hulkenberg, who is it now in the points?
Yep, Sainz's car well out of the way. So, here we go then. This should be a run to the finish. And Russell will have to serve his penalty as they go into the chicane.
Well, Alex Albon was alongside Nico Hülkenberg, but how much alongside Nico Hülkenberg? He had to go on the escape road. Albon couldn't get the move done. He's now under pressure from Ocon.
If Albon's front axle was ahead of Hülkenberg's front axle, then Hülkenberg will have to give him that place back. Or give him the place, indeed.
Fernando Alonso at the rear there in P13 as George Russell comes in to serve his penalty. Up into third place goes Gasly, Hadjar, Piastri, Lawson, Lindblad, Hülkenberg, Albon, Ocon, all into the points. And George Russell is now out of the points. And as that happens, Hadjar's been noted for a red flag infringement. So that could also give no further investigation for the safety car infringement, but there's another infringement from Hadjar. They'll sort this out around about 10 o'clock next Tuesday evening, the way this is going. But out in front, 1.3 seconds is the gap between Antonelli and Hamilton.
Antonelli then once again peerless out front. But look at this, Gasly on the podium at the moment, Hadjar right in there, Piastri fifth for McLaren, Lindblad looking at some points, Hülkenberg in the Audi looking good there in 8th place.
But it's 2 5-second penalties for Pierre Gasly that are coming his way. Piastri could end up on the podium here. Hadjar's going to be investigated after the race. That is no concern whatsoever to Kimi Antonelli. Let's have a look at what happened at the hairpin. And watch here, down the inside, Hülkenberg spies a gap. Yeah, and then Sainz is then right in his way.
Yeah, Sainz was going around the outside and sort of cut back in a little bit. A very unfortunate contact for the pair of them there.
I think the Colapinto contact on Sainz happens later on down at Portier. Here's down the inside here. That's original contact for Carlos Sainz.
Yeah, so Hülkenberg was avoiding an accident initially. Here we go again.
Now watch Colapinto, and there's 2 taps. That's why Carlos Sainz was facing the other way. Oh, rotten luck for Carlos Sainz. Antonelli's 2 seconds out in front. You can almost taste that victory champagne. Hamilton on course for a second successive podium finish for Ferrari, a second successive second place. Behind that comes Gasly, Hadjar and Piastri, and of those 3, Piastri is in the best place at the moment to take a podium here. He's chasing Isaac Hadjar, who's going to have to go and chase to see the stewards after the race.
But Gasly then is already is about to show already 3.1 seconds ahead of Hadjar. He's got to get that up to 5 seconds somehow.
That's going to be a tall order, that really is. Here with not many laps to go.
Still no power. Come on!
And Hadjar is really struggling, as he has been for long periods in this race, with a loss of power from his Red Bull. If he can hang on the racetrack at least to 4th place, it's a brilliant effort from himself this afternoon, but whether he can hang on to that in the stewards' room, I don't know.
Bernie reminding me amongst this wave of penalties, it's 10 seconds for Pierre Gasly that he's carrying, not 5 seconds.
Piastri then might be just content to sit behind Isaac Hadjar here, but there's no guarantee that Hadjar is going to get any penalties from the stewards. Pierre Gasly is on course to finish 3rd on the road here, but 2 speeding offences in the pit lane is going to take him out of the top 3. And while all that is happening, last lap, Antonelli 7/10 clear of Lewis Hamilton. The Ferrari has no answer to the pace of the Mercedes and the pace of Kimi Antonelli here this afternoon, with his teammate George Russell out of the points. Antonelli's on course for 25.
And for the second time today, Sergio Perez noticed for an out of position false start.
Stewards working overtime and investigating that right now as we drop down deep towards the hairpin. Isaac Hadjar ahead of Oscar Piastri. The front two are a long way clear of the rest. It has to be said, they've definitely got the pace at the moment. Lapping in the 1:14s, Gasly in third, lapping in the 1:16s. And no wonder that the top, Antonelli's just making his way around Raskas. Gasly down towards Tabak.
Liam Lawson telling me before the start of the race my car's not going to make it, I'm not in the race, and here he is, P6, somewhat later that day.
Best place finish of 5th in Baku in 2025 for Liam Lawson. Finished 7th last time out in Canada. P6 possibly here today, could be even more. Who knows by the time that the classified finish gets worked out.
Kimi Antonelli at 1:13.4, unbelievably fast. The team will be like, slow down.
The Prince of Monaco is going to award a trophy to the young Prince of Monaco this year, and it is going to be Kimi Antonelli, a long, long way clear as through into Casino Square we go with Isaac Hadjar and Oscar Piastri behind him. And I just hope for the last lap we get to see Kimi Antonelli complete lap 78 and take the checkered flag. Overtaking difficult here. There's one young man getting ready to celebrate here, and he's a long way clear of his opponent Lewis Hamilton in second place.
Pushing like crazy, unsurprisingly, but Antonelli and Hamilton then they've gapped the pack already by 14 seconds. And Antonelli kept his head. That's what's impressed me as much as anything today with Antonelli. How under pressure he's kept his head. Safety car restarts, 2 actual starts, and he's as calm as they come.
Our race leader is heading up around Massenet and into Casino Square for one last time. Lewis Hamilton chasing after him. Awful lot of attention on Kim this weekend. The headlines are going to be written by Kimi this weekend on the track with a brilliant performance to grab pole yesterday when Charles Leclerc was on for pole. He hit the wall at Tabak. Kimi Antonelli denied Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen's power unit denied us a battle between the two during the course of this race, and nothing has been able to deny Kimi Antonelli. Not safety cars, we've had 2. Not a red flag, we've had 1. A victory here in Monaco. He has been absolutely on it from Saturday morning onwards. He has shown the way, and he has been the fastest man on the track. He's built his way up slowly but surely, but there's been nothing slow about him. When the lights went out today, Kimi Antonelli got his foot to the floor. He survived the restarts. He survived the safety cars. He comes home to win in Monaco. Kimi Antonelli makes it 5 Grand Prix victories in a row. Lewis Hamilton, second place for Ferrari for the second successive race. Antonelli, head and shoulders above the rest in Monaco. Pierre Gasly on the road now crosses the line to take third place in the race with penalties to serve. Isaac Hadjar moves ahead of him to take that third place with a steward's investigation to come for him. Oscar Piastri is definitely fourth. Liam Lawson is an equal best place finish in Formula One for him. Fifth from Arvid Lindblad, who changed his tyres during that red flag for a best finish of 6th.
Get in there, Kimi. Nice work there, pal. That was a masterclass, mate. First Monaco win.
Oh my God.
Yeah, a bit tense at the end there, mate. Bit tense at the end, but yeah, what a great job.
Thank you so much, guy. Car was a beast today. My goodness, thank you so much.
No, great job there, mate. Great job.
So Gasly drops down to P7. We're waiting to find out what the red flag incident for Isaac Hadjar, if there's going to be any ramifications for that. And wow, there's a lot to talk about, isn't there, after this race?
There absolutely is. Let's hear from Lewis.
And well done, Lewis. Great job, guys. Sorry I can pull the win. Sorry I couldn't get the win in the end. They just had the upper hand on us this weekend. But mega result. really grateful for all the hard work, and let's continue to push. Thank you. Grazie a tutti.
Grazie a te, Lewis. For today, we can be happy.
Let's continue the stories here. Gasly finishes 7th, Albon 8th, Ocon in the points 9th. Congratulations, Cadillac, who have scored their first points in Formula One. A 10-second penalty to Nico Hülkenberg for causing a collision has promoted Sergio Perez
And surely the speed gun or the speed sensor on the way into the pit is doing something different, not necessarily wrong, but different to the rest of the weekend.
Well, put it this way, it's either in their 6th Grand Prix, Cadillac score their first point, and bravo if that is the case, well done to them, or if Perez does get a penalty, bravo Fernando Alonso for scoring Aston Martin's first point of the season. Lawrence Stroll is here, and he might just smile, a big beaming smile for getting a point, if that is the case. We'll let you know in the post-race show. Don't go anywhere. And this man, Kimi Antonelli, is getting ready for the biggest part